Hello everyone and welcome to the Smite Draft League Week 2 here, Godlike Division. As you can see behind us, Kingslayers versus the Stormcallers. I'm Deelo, joined here by DoctahShru at the dressed up desk. Doctor, how are we feeling, man?
I'm excited. I mean, this is the top level in SDL. We should see some top tier plays. It's going to be really interesting to see how these two teams match up because it's so early in the season. Everybody's still kind of, finding their footing.
Of course, it's always the question this early in the season about synergies and how that plays into your God picks and, of course, into your gameplay. And give me your opinion, Shru. When you are still feeling out a team a little bit, do you think it's better to go for your pocket comfort picks, or do we stick with these meta staples when it comes to the P's and the B's?
It's a good question. I feel like it depends on the team, right? Depending on how people feel. But to me personally, I'd rather go for kind of the pocket things, because you would assume, especially at the level of Godlike, everybody's going to be comfortable on these meta picks. Everybody's going to be, understanding the meta. So limit test, try things out, see how weird comps and weird picks can kind of work together and try to make something happen off of that.
And Kingslayers, with their first ban, are going to wipe off both in one. Two birds, one stone, because the Yorm Strat ran an absolute clinic with that God in the scouting grounds. They probably did their homework and said, we don't want to get near none of that business. On the other side, Stormcaller is going to say, your mascot is no longer allowed to the party. Set going to be their ban.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they are just, banning out the mascot. Maybe something that they're comfortable with just because of their team name. I've seen a lot of Set banned away recently. Haven't actually seen him in game because he's just kind of out of nowhere become almost like a must ban in a lot of games I've been viewing.
It's interesting to see, but it's also very thematic what is being locked out here. A lot of prime physical threats. I mean, you can see the Set be played in the mid lane sometimes, so it's not necessarily all jungle picks, but certainly a lot of high priority jungles being locked out here. What does that leave on the table for us when it comes to this first pick?
Marticorous, first thing that comes to mind for me. It completely made it through the picks and bans. Baba Yaga got through untouched. Those are two really big picks. The Hachiman kind of lower on that priority. We shall fly together. But Horus is the first locked overall. I don't think I've ever seen Marticorous go this late into a draft unlooked at.
Are they like trying to say something about like, okay, you took our mascot, we'll take like the nemesis of it, I guess? Or first lock? It's interesting to see. They must really have a plan here, at least I hope so, on the Kingslayers. But Stormcaller is going to listen to the doc, as you should, and be diagnosed with a case of Marticorous. That's going to be a bit of a troublesome pick for the Kingslayers unless they have something to counter it out.
Yeah, and I mean, what counters out Marticorous? He's got the safety of his ultimate. He just does more damage than almost anybody else. This is such a strong first pick overall here for the Stormcallers. And pair it up possibly with a Sun Wukong. This is a great top two coming from the Stormcallers. I'm interested to see what the Kingslayers could possibly answer back with. I guess notably Baba Yaga still open.
Yeah, we do still have some prime meta threats that slipped through the wayside here, but Kingslayers, with their first pick focusing on the front line, have to wonder if they're going to continue with that theme. And indeed, Doc, man, you're killing it on the C2. Got your C2 pants on right now, because the Baba Yaga will indeed be their second lock-in. What does that provide to your team?
Just so much safety, so much damage. She's able to build very, very healthy with things like the prophetic cloak, things like the warlock staff, the ethereal staff. Makes her so hard to gank with that safety of the home sweet home shielding at the same time, and she's still able to do so much damage against you. So I love this lock-in, and you pair it with the on her with that Horus. That is a kill pressure dual lane that is going to be really hard for the Stormcallers to deal with.
Indeed, I have to wonder if the Marty is going to be put into the dual lane to maybe alleviate some of that pressure, or of course the flex pick can be brought to the mid lane. But we know who else is going to be there partying it up in the duo. That's going to be the Yemoja.
Yeah, Yemoja, I'm pretty sure she's been good since release. They've tried to bring her down, but if you know how to play Yemoja correctly, it is so hard to go into her. She can kind of do everything you'd want a support to do. And whether it's paired up with that Marticarus, or if Marty goes into the mid lane, definitely a good top 3 from the Stormcallers as well.
And this is interesting here. We're seeing bans that you could argue have already been theoretically picked for their roles. You see the Hachiman being banned against the Stormcallers when theoretically Marty could be a carry, which means they're assuming it's a mid. And you see Ganesha being banned, which assumes that the Horus is going to be played either in the solo or the jungle. What are your thoughts on that? Is this maybe a bit too big of a bluff call? Should we stick with things that we know are left on the table as far as the roles left?
I feel like banning, the jungle like the Susano is the safer call, but Horus can, do a good job in solo lane, and I suppose he can jungle as well. But the Kingslayers going all in on the fact that this Marty is they're assuming it's going to be in the mid lane, which I would tend to as well. I feel like he functions better in mid, but he has that flexibility. So if Stormcallers wanted, they could just pick up a traditional mage here and kind of, almost waste the last 2 bans of the Kingslayers.
And here is going to be the jungle pick that they tried to take a few options out of the hands of, the Naja. And I think when you have a Naja, it creates a very simple flow chart for what your angle of attack is. How do we think that slots in with the rest of the Stormcallers?
I think it can slot in pretty well. The Marticarus can go up into that, ultimate and just absolutely blow anybody up that lands from the Windfire wheels. You have the more setup with the Yemoja, but it kind of makes me want them to lock in a traditional mage, something like the Ra that we see so often paired up with the Naja, to get that Searing Pain combo once anybody gets dropped down from the sky.
And here's Kingslayer's answer as far as completing their front line. Who's going to be bullying that mid lane, or that Ra if you decide to slot it in? It's going to be a Nike. In my opinion, next to Hachiman, the most boring god of the game, but certainly an effective one. This is not boring, though. Loki going to round out Kingslayer's draft.
Yeah, the last 2 out of Kingslayers are a bit spicy. The top 3 make tons of sense. There's stuff we see all the time. Nike, we don't see too often of because, Sunder exists, Cursed Ankh exists, Erosion exists. You kind of can just negate her ultimate, but she does bring a lot beyond that. And Loki, I personally love when we see Lokis in games. I think it's great. And you're making the same face that I am with that last lock-in for Stormcallers.
I mean, okay, so he can walk. He's no longer he's no longer just confined to one spot when using the Locust Breath, but at the same time, that's a Loki you're going up against. A very mobile, that's a Disperse, that's a Nike Leap, that's a Horus Dash, that's a Blast Off. They can all engage on you so easily. What do you think is the logic that Stormcallers have in locking in this one?
To me, this Stormcallers squad is just, you can't do anything if you're dead. They have so much damage. Sun Wukong has so much damage out of the solo lane. Marticarus, one of the highest damaging gods right now. Anubis is, even if he, roots himself in his ult, you're still gonna die if he looks at you for too long. And they have the setup from the Naja and the Yemoja. This is a pick comp to me. It just screams they want to look at one person and take them out of the game.
I mean, like you said, 2 weeks in, you have to maybe rely on your own skills a bit more than your team. So if you just have enough damage on board, you can just brute force your way through. Let's find out if they succeed. Game 1 will be in the cast in just a moment. Hello everyone and welcome on back, Smite Draft League. Game 1 between the Kingslayers and Stormcallers Godlike division. Once again, I'm Deelo, joined here by DoctahShru, and just, Doctor, when it comes to the comps overall here, pick for pick, ban for ban, well, mostly pick for pick, who do we think has locked out the edge?
That's a close one, especially because it's Anubis ADC for Dragoon locked in. Marticarus in the mid lane, which is even spicier than I expected it to be, and I'm excited. I don't know who has the edge with some of the picks we have here.
I mean, the matchups are so bonkers that you do have the factor that it's unexpected. And the unexpected, of course, both warrants the fact that you have to be a bit more careful against it, but at the same time, you have to be a bit more careful playing it as well. If you're not used to this kind of matchup, you might be, you know, kind of giving yourself enough rope to hang yourself with. So hopefully gonna see these experimental picks be put to good use. Where's your just attention as far as if you're a jungler on either side, what are you going to be looking for?
I feel like if I'm the jungler on the Kingslayers, you got to be looking at this dual lane. Anubis, I mean, as the way you worded it on the desk, he can walk. That's about all he can do to try and get away from you. You can throw a wrap, but mostly he's just trying to walk away. And if you're CritOfTime, you have such a good ability to get onto him. You got to focus out this Anubis, because if he gets ahead, it could be problematic just because of the raw damage he can do while he's walking at you.
So you do have your win condition there for Dragoon. If you get that Goobis just a bit ahead, could spell the snowball you need. But of course they have a Loki there. CritOfTime going to be instrumental to see if they can put the Jackal in the dirt. And seeing a bit of face already over there, but they do have ward coverage. Could be troublesome. They need to walk and get walking quick. Going to be able to retreat down to safety. On the other side then, okay, let's talk about Kingslayers. Who do we think, if we're on the Stormcaller side, we want to be plucking out of their side?
It's got to be the Baba Yaga. EmoticonFather on this mid pick. It's such a strong pick. It's a safe pick, so it's going to be hard to deal with, but not quite yet. This early in the game, there's no defense online. Baba Yaga, you know, doesn't have any sort of extra survivability beyond a normal mage. So this is the time for, you know, Likon here to get in on this Naja, to get set up for his Marticarus, and to try and make sure that EmoticonFather doesn't have a chance to make it to that safety net that comes from a later game Baba.
And you see here that Likon could be in a bit of trouble, taking a bit of a venture into the opposing jungle, but gonna be scared off before he could really grab that blue. I think Naja is always a bit... I always mention this with Naja, Doc, and that's the fact that when you have those Windfire wheels on your side, you need to think about PEMDAS, order of operations of your abilities, because if you take an enemy out of the fight at the wrong time, you could be denying your own teammates some of the abilities that they wanted to put damage on. Who do you think needs to have the lead foot here? Who's initiating these bigger fights on the side of the Stormcallers with that in mind?
Strat for sure needs to be the one who kicks things off. Yemoja has that ranged initiation to help set up for the Naja combo. And so if Strat on this Yemoja can position well and choose the right targets to initiate with, or get a big River's Rebuke and trap in multiple members in a jungle corridor, that's definitely going to be kind of the win con for the Stormcallers, which will be even more, you know, looking further into the future, even more impactful around like Fire Giant pits or sieges or anything like that. Yemoja just so good at all points of the game, so my eyes are on Strat here for kind of leading the squad.
I imagine Kingslayers must also have the same thing in mind, given the fact that they were banning out. Ooh, this could be some troublesome. Death Gaze is going to be dropped on you. LetterToMyself is unfortunately going to be condolence letter. First blood for the Stormcallers on the Goobis.
And that's exactly what you don't want to see if you're the Kingslayers, is Anubis getting a lead, getting the first blood bounty, and showing that he's comfortable on this pick, because he's landing these wraps. That was a great use of the ultimate right as he ticked over to level 5, and the damage that comes out of it is just so hard to deal with regardless of who you are. That's Stormcallers are off to the perfect start in my opinion.
That's going to be rough here, because Honor, a god that can do pretty well in the early to mid game, but now finding himself under pressure. Those pillars are blocking your own basics, friend, but rushing to the aid, and with nowhere to go, could be in some trouble here. Beads expended. Just gonna have to walk your way back to that tier 1 tower. Dragoon remains safe for now. But like you said, man, this is what we cautioned the Kingslayers against, and so far, they haven't quite figured out the answer to the God of Death.
Well, getting the beads out is the start to the answer. That's
This is
all.
true.
That is pretty much the
Preacher.
only safety that Anubis has at this moment. So if CritOfTime decides to walk over, use that ambush, and get a good stun, there's not a whole lot that Dragoon can do unless he has Death Gaze available. And even then, he's still just sitting in place while a Loki is just spamming abilities at you. So that they have the beginning of what they need to do to make sure this Anubis doesn't run away with the game.
But must be given some credit to Dragoon as well. I saw him leave the base, and you can still see one in his pocket. And he just got another one. Sentry wards and wards aplenty. Recognizing the weaknesses of your character and making sure to shore those gaps in your defenses could be immensely instrumental to the rest of how this laning phase goes.
Yeah, agreed. That's great, especially getting the sentries to make sure that you are the one controlling the vision. That you don't see carries do that very often.
No.
You know, pre 15, 20 minutes, depending on, you know, the game, getting the sentry wards online and going. I love that out of Dragoon. And I also love that it seems like he's getting a fair amount of solo farm. We've already seen Strat kind of rotate around the map and leave him alone to just soak up that experience, because he's going to need it to be able to keep up with someone like an Onher who has so much pressure like this.
And you're going to see a bit of it there with the Desert's Fury, but certainly do agree that they're doing a good job of just trying to enable the Anubis to get up to full. Here goes someone going up to the skies instead. Lycon going to be taking them a quick trip up, quick trip back down. Where'd you go there, my friend? Gonna be to the skies and right back to the tower, but he was in home sweet home. Might have wanted to just launch a few more of those fire bolts. Kingslayers will remain safe for now. We talked a lot here about the left side of the map here. Let's take a traipse over to the solo lane. Talk about that matchup with me, my friend. What does the Sun Wukong Nike matchup look like besides boring?
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to look at it. I mean, Sun Wukong, you know, should just win this lane out. He should have all the pressure in the world, the freedom to do what he wants, but it's more aggression in the dual lane.
Oh no, that is troublesome. Had already expended the beads, the ultimate had just been used, and that's the call to action for CritOfTime to find his time to take down the carry. Excellent work there. Kingslayer's gonna even it up on the board.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Kingslayers needed to be doing. They used that ambush coming out of CritOfTime to just make sure that as much damage as possible went on to Dragoon, so he couldn't sustain it up, because he already has that Bancrofts online, the tier 2 of Typhons as well. So he's got a lot of sustainability in the kit. The longer that fight goes on, the more it kind of favors out Dragoon, but the burst damage from Loki, enough to just easily let them get that kill.
I mean, we're seeing on either side, they're doing exactly what you mentioned, is the fact that they both recognize the value of this unconventional carry pick. On the side of Stormcallers, they're trying their best to protect it. Kingslayers are doing their damnedest to make sure it does not ever get online. But on that hand, you do end up neglecting the bits that we talked about earlier. The Baba Yaga kind of going just relatively safe for fair. Do we think that's a mistake? Should we not be dedicating so much attention to the dual lane? Do we need to traipse a bit more to the mid?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because, you know, the Anubis is the spicy pick, is something that you notice when you're loading into the lobby, but it's Martikers v Baba Yaga in the mid lane. Those are two of the best picks in Smite right now. Two picks that can run away with a game regardless of who's in the lobby. And if they're both allowed to kind of just free farm and get to that late game, it could be problematic for both teams, depending on which one comes out ahead in the mid lane. And so I like that we're seeing more focus here in mid right now.
In fact, yes, gonna be used the Flare Slash. There's the Assassinate, but the beads to match it, finding a lot of damage on him as well. Barb Tail, that's gonna be able to take him out from range. Fantastic awareness by Storm, pre-beadsing that stun, and gonna just turn it right around. The 180 is going to grab yourself a second kill. Dragoon looking to be in quite a bit of trouble. Disperse, and the basic to follow. MattGuy is gonna take down the Anubis once more.
Well, ends up being a 1-for-1 trade across the map. And I feel like getting the Anubis behind is more important, and so I'm going to give that favor towards the Kingslayers, because yes, you don't want your Loki falling behind, you don't want your Loki struggling, but Loki's going to do Loki things in late game. He's going to be able to split push, he's going to be able to 1v1 in the jungle. Anubis is the question mark here, so making sure that that Dragoon is uncomfortable, it's got to be a win in their favor. A little bit of a rotation over to the right lane won't come to anything, but in the mid lane, we saw right there exactly what I was worried about with this Martikerus. He got dove on, he went up into the air, and then just turned around so much damage that there was nothing CritOfTime could do, and that's just the threat that this Marty brings at any phase in the game. Now that he has that Transcendence online, that's kind of the only thing you need.
This is a 3-man collapse. It's going to be taken to the skies, landing right behind you. Don't even need it. Crit of time at all the damage necessary. And Strat, I don't know why you're jumping for joy there, my friend. Your carry just got taken down for the 3rd time in a row. It's not looking so fun to play Anubis anymore.
No, that's where Anubis has his struggles. It's just so hard to stay safe, especially in a longer lane like the dual lane. You have to step up further to clear the wave than you would in something like mid. So it's just gonna be hard for Dragoon. He's at this point, feel like if you're the Stormcallers, you just gotta wait until late game happens.
This could be a bit of troublesome, my friend. You have to use a Sentinel of Zeus to ensure your safety after trying to deny the blue buff steal. But here comes Somersault. But the shield is still good, and you're going to be underneath the tower for a long amount of time. The Shadow Clone eating up some of that damage. Leaps back to the blue buff, but you can't even have that as a consolation prize, my friend. Instead, they will have your life. Lyca, I'm going to take that. Make it a nice 3-3 game. 11 minutes in here. Stormcallers with a minor gold advantage. Only about 1k to their name. Levels, though. Some disparities across the board. Talk to me about where the XP is going.
Well, in solo lane, it's going the way of DepMoofin. Oh, he's got a 2-level lead even before that kill happened because Sun Wukong just gets to do that in lane. It's so hard to keep up with the amount of pressure that he can have. A little bit of a disparity in the jungle is probably from the, the death that CritOfTime had over there. And in mid lane, Marticarus is just able to get the earlier pressure until Baba Yaga kind of gets that extra layer of safety a little bit later into the game.
And there's also the 2-level lead now that the On Her has over the Anubis. That does not feel good, given the importance that God's going to have in these later engagements. Speaking of here, Stygian Beacon, a natural climactic point to decide if you want to test your mettle for these team fights. They're all posturing for it. Some grass down in the field if you want to play in the field for a little bit, but could be in some trouble here. Lycon underneath quite a bit of pressure here, blocked out by the shield. Death from above gonna find a kill on the return. Strat actually gonna take that one from ya. There goes CritOfTime. Both junglers are out of it. Death Gaze gonna stare at him a little bit. Pwuntahs is gonna feel the pain. And there goes the solo lane as well. Could be in some trouble here. Beacon still not declared yet. Wrapped up, but can you get the final bow on the kill? Takes to the skies. Just gonna ponder a bit in the clouds. Drops down to the Baba Yaga, but not for too much damage. I think that might have been Aegis there. Expended, indeed it was. Beacon still looking to be in Stormcallers' favor, but Kingslayers has the numbers to contest. But not if you get wrapped up like that. Best be careful there, my friend. But by charging in ahead, who's left exposed is Dragoon. MattGuy gonna find the killing spree onto the Goobus. And now with no friends left and no health to spare, DepMoofin is gonna have to retreat back. It seems the Beacon might be going the way of Kingslayers. MattGuy is standing strong, but Lycon's had enough time to return to the fight. And the grass is just too much of a wild card. You're too afraid of what lurks in there, my friend. And that's troublesome. They're going to have to just give up a bit more of that center stage presence. And Lycon's going aggressive here. Beats expended there on the Loki, but the Flurry Slash, there it's going to be. MattGuy going to pick up a 4th kill onto Lycon. Jumping right on over the Tiger form, going to evade the stun. Battle of the Kitty Cats here, going so far in the favor of MattGuy. Leap in from Pwuntahs to try to just put up a shield to the damage. Death from above, as well as to the skies. Everyone's using their aerial abilities and showing off a bit. Unfortunately, Sun Wukong can't do the same. Gonna show off the Buffalo form instead. It might be a bit too flashy for you, my friend. There's some flash and awe. Gonna be the Sentinel of Zeus, as well as the damage supplied by MattGuy, finding the Rampage onto the Sun Wukong. This engagement's been extended for far too long for Stormcallers' liking. They might just need to decide to opt out, because at this point, any more kills being fed into the pockets of Kingslayers is only going to lengthen the lead they've created out of nowhere.
Yeah, what an engagement. MattGuy is just built different on this On Her. He did absolutely everything you would want your ADC to do in that fight. He's now 5-0-2 on the On Her and just was free casting. He did whatever he wanted, and he looks like he might even try to style on Dragoon here again. But he was free casting, and every time the fight looked like it was over, he would be able to disengage, back up, and then the fight would continue, and guess who was there? MattGuy on the On Her, just raining spears towards absolutely everybody. Who cares if there's an Anubis on the other side if you just have an On Her of this caliber for the Kingslayers?
I think they recognize that. Strat's going to try to mosey his way on over and do some damage here. Going to put down the Riptide, but it was not successful. Toss a ring for your troubles, but the shield's just going to eat that on up. MattGuy feeling pretty good about how that entire engagement went for you. Was it just a targeting failure there on the side of Stormcallers? Do we need to maybe shift our priorities? What do you think was the primary means of them not being out on top for that fight?
Yeah, I think so. They poured a lot into LetterToMyself, and they got him low. They poked him out, but he did exactly. That's what you want your support to do, to eat the damage, to make sure that your carries are okay. And then it just let MattGuy, get in there. CritOfTime fell, but he was able to get in and do his damage before that happened.
Very true.
And if you look at EmoticonFather, his Charon's coin is completely stacked now. He's 5 assists already on this Baba Yaga, and now, your Baba Yaga, you can stack it without that because of the house. But, he's going to be able to do more damage. I feel like the Stormcallers need to focus on the back line of this Kingslayers team a bit more, even with, the Horus and the Nike kind of running at him.
I was about to say, it's no easy task, unfortunately, given the front line that Kingslayers have built up. It seems that they've almost prepared themselves for the eventuality of those 4v5s happening, because it seems that their comp, even without CritOfTime, very capable of duking it out with the Stormcallers in full force. I don't know, this is looking rough though. They need to find some means of reversing this pressure, because at this rate, Kingslayers stand to maybe go for some objective pressure here, staring at the Gold Fury, but they have members to step up. Strat, as well as Lycon. Going to be wrapping around the backside here. Could be a good ambush, but it's dropped down to low. Riven's Rebuke, and the Kingslayers will indeed get it. Riven's Rebuke going to collapse only onto Strat, but brought back down. CritOfTime going to use the Assassinate for safety, and seems that he'll be successful in that endeavor. Unfortunately, in all aspects there, Stormcallers just come up a bit short.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, because I think Stormcallers' way back into this game is to focus objectives. The Dragoon's Anubis is going to be able to help shred through things with the Marticarus, Riven's Rebuke, to use that. And they show it right there with the Pyromancer. I feel like that is their way back in. So losing out on the Gold Fury, even if you trade out for Pyro, not what the Stormcallers are probably looking for right now.
At the very least here, let's take a look at the charts here. 17 minutes into the game. That's going to be a swing, though, for you. Going to be putting that nice tier 1 tower on the left side for the board. Kingslayers up by just a smidgen, but the kills are a bit more dire. 3 kills ahead, 8-5 in Kingslayers' favor. The level leads spelling about the same story, but the biggest disparity now remains between the carries, and that is a scary thing.
Yeah, it is. MattGuy's been looking so good on the On Her, and then you point out that he has a 2-level lead. He's going to be able to do even more with that, and he looks so comfortable on this pick. It's an uphill battle for Dragoon, but we've seen how much damage the Death Gaze can do. It's only going to get even more intense, and Dragoon has opted to not pick up a starter item here in the beginning. I was wondering if maybe he was just rushing Bancrofts, but then he picked up the Typhons. Now he's got the Magus. I'm thinking he must be wanting to save that important, starter items bring so much. He's saving that for the level 20 mark to just immediately upgrade it. Because if he doesn't go towards the starter item of any kind, it might kind of hamper his ability to kind of impact these team fights later on.
He's saving it all for wards, bro. That's what all that pocket money was going towards. I can't afford a starter, man. I gotta get these sentries online, boy. And now Stormcallers, maybe posturing for some action here in the mid lane. Tier 2 being looked at. They're poking out, but invisible. CritOfTime could look for a sneaky assassinate attempt. Gonna remain safe for now. I'm loving these wraparound tactics here from Stormcallers, but playing from behind can be a bit risky when you want to get cheeky like that.
Yeah, that was an aggressive call to try and siege down the tower while you're the ones falling behind. They did do a lot of damage to it because of kind of the comp they have set up. Marticarus is just always going to chunk towers with that more ability-focused build. They don't end up getting anything for it, but it looks like they could be looking to scrap around this green buff bit and the beacon.
I mean, you do have EmoticonFather just trying to secure that, but knocked out there by the Sun Wukong on zoning duty here. And that shield's going to do the exact same. So much space control. Death Gaze just going to be put right through the red carpet that is the Riven's Rebuke. You can walk at him now, but you can't walk if you're dead. MattGuy gonna take down Dragoon to the skies, not for very much distance. Didn't have too many frequent flyer miles. So Sun Wukong's gonna take to the skies as well. Naja says that looks fun. Gonna drop down Pwuntahs right in the midst of it. But LetterToMyself as well as Pwuntahs are both incredibly low. The front line has been decimated, but they still have the numbers underneath the Stormcallers. Here's a blinking gauge. Gonna look for MattGuy, but you don't have the damage for it, Lycon. A heroic attempt will, unfortunately, be met with no avail. Double kill there onto Strat. Further on her. You cannot stop this man.
You really can. I said they needed to look at him, and that's exactly what Lycan did. And it just backfired so hard. MattGuy is just unstoppable right now on this on her. 8-0-2. Basically leading the charge. At one point, he was frontlining on her around that beacon fight. Like, apparently, Stormcallers just need to take all 5 members and look towards this on her, because that fight was going their direction until MattGuy showed up and started autoing.
It's so, I mean, we talked about how spicy this Goobus pick was, but it's looking about as mild as mayo right now, because it just hasn't been able to do what it wants to do. The moment you lock yourself down, it's MattGuy, who's now level 19, 3 levels ahead, and looking at the Primal Fury next. Stormcallers might not be privy to this, or maybe just don't have the gumption to step up, but that, nonetheless, will spell a second Fury going the way of the Kingslayers. 21 minutes into the game, 2,000 gold lead here for Kingslayers. I think it might be the biggest we've seen as far as gold disparities so far. What can Stormcallers do to get back into it? Is it another Pyromancer call? What do you think, Doc?
They gotta play around Storm, because we haven't mentioned his name a whole lot yet, but he's on this Marty pick, which is so impactful. He's 1-0-2, so he's been doing well for himself, and he's much later in the build. Looks like they will go pick up a Pyromancer and trade again. But if they can continue to just let Storm kind of, work his way through into the late game, he is definitely someone who's going to be able to step up to MattGuy and kind of take the 1v1, because on her's hard to fight in a 1v1, but so is Marticarus. So it's to me, it's got to be focused around the mid lane for the Stormcallers if they're going to kind of pull their way back into this game.
And luckily, only a little bit behind as far as the XP goes for the Marty, so still, like you said, at a good standing to have an impact in these next few fights. The question is, where will they be now? A lot of the objectives have been stripped away. Beacon doesn't come up for quite a bit of time. Pyro and Fury are down. On the side of the Stormcallers, when you're playing from behind here, do we try to go for action, or do we decide to go for safe farm?
I feel like farm's got to be the choice right now, because the Kingslayers have a fair advantage. They have a pretty fair advantage. They're up right now, but you can only hit level 20 once. You can only finish your build once. And all of a sudden, that gold, that XP difference, it means less and less the deeper we get into the game. We're 23 minutes in now. Fire Giants, it's a little too early. So I like the kind of farming idea, but it seems like they might still want to try and siege this tier 1 tower in mid.
I mean, like you said, you have Marty, you have the tools for success, but I'm just a bit worried because Storm's got a bit of a chunk taken out of the health, and with CritOfTime lurking. We talked about the Loki play as well. It's one of the other spicy selections we've seen so far. How do we think that's been executed? So, hold on a second. I'm gonna have to wait, because there's actually about to be a wraparound engagement. Here comes the blink, but CritOfTime stunned immediately. Gonna opt for the aggressive engage with the assassinate, but caught on the death from above. The barbed tail will root him in place, but not much damage to follow, and now it's Storm in trouble, brought down to low, nearly brought to heal. LetterToMyself leading the engage. Fracture going to do a bit of damage, but Lycon's the one healthy member of the Stormcallers, but not if MattGuy has anything to say about it. You better opt your way out thanks to the Riptide. Stormcallers will manage to disengage successfully, but they don't come up with the tier 1 tower they were looking for.
They don't, and MattGuy with such a good pillar there to trap in Lycan on that Naja, forced him to Windfire Wheels out, and now it's Kingslayers who are the ones getting aggressive in the mid lane.
They lose a tier 2 tower on the side of the Stormcallers. Like, you got to be scratching your head thinking, what the heck just happened there? Dragoon does actually manage to successfully split push. That's not how you expect to be doing that. You want that Goobus there, pumping out those numbies there in the front lines with the rest of your team, but at the very least going to contribute in his own way. That's going to just grant you maybe, hopefully, a bit of a backslide, a speed bump to Kingslayer's onslaught at this point. But Stormcallers now trying to rotate around, maybe set up some vision around this FG where you have to imagine the pressure will be directed next.
Yeah, we are fast approaching well, we are approaching enhanced fire giant, but we're approaching just fire giant dance territory. And I want to go back to your earlier question about this Loki for Crit of Time.
Yes,
I feel like it was the perfect, the perfect example we saw right after you asked me that before I had a chance to answer. He got in there, he got both relics and the ult out of Storm, and Storm just had to leave at that point. He was all about escape, and all Crit of Time did was look at him, ult in his direction, and just kind of try to sit on top of him. And that's what you want out of your Loki. And I was saying Stormcallers need to look to Storm, but if Crit of Time can continually do that to this Marticarus, it's going to be so much harder for Stormcallers to stay in this game.
We mentioned it earlier how mobile the threats of the Kingslayers are. Gonna prove it right there. Baba gonna blast off, but there it is. You wanted them to look at you? I'll look at you, Dragoon says. LetterToMyself gonna be burned down there. Horus out of the game for 40 seconds. What will Stormcallers do with that advantage?
Looks like they could. They're just gonna take the fight in mid. Here we go again.
It's going to be dropped into the sky. EmoticonFather's in a bit of trouble here. Aegis going to secure a bit more time. Crit of Time, though, going to secure a kill. But on the back end, Storm's going to pick the Loki right back up. Home sweet home. Going to knock out Moofin from that one. Just going to have to shape of a falcon your way from that. 2-for-1 trade there. Kingslayer's going to feel the burn for the first time in a while when it comes to these bigger engagements. And Stormcallers have a bit of pressure they can work with.
Looks like they're going to take that pressure over towards the Primal Fury and start that one up. They have a good shred even without Dragoon here, so they should be able to get this down with that Marticarus on their side, but it might get traded out by a Pyromancer on the other side for the Kingslayers.
You do have the potential to contest, but I think they're going to opt for the safe play. Not the worst idea. Small victories lead to big victories. Why overplay your hand? Get back on that beacon, though, buddy. Come on, we want to secure that at the very least. Unleash the Titans, but it might be because they realize Kingslayers are trying to make a mile out of that inch, a Fire Giant out of that inch. Lycon's the only one here to contest. The rest of the members had backed. This is troublesome looking here, and here comes Moofin trying to do something, driving them away. Some decent damage onto MattGuy thanks to that FG, and they're going to be blocked actually out by the Pillar. River's Rebuke in the meantime being staked up and brought down as Lycon. Strat going to shortly follow thanks to Crit of Time. Very, very low are the members here of Stormcallers. DepMoofin just has to waltz out at this point. This could be troublesome. Only the damage core remains, and they might not have enough gumption to contest or the numbers to do so either. Crit of Time just lurking around the corners trying to set up an ambush, but instead they're going to assert a bit more pressure in the mid lane before perchance just doing it all over again.
DepMoofin did so much work in that fight. He got brought low, he didn't find any kills, but if he wasn't there, that is a free Fire Giant going the way of the Kingslayers, and he just was able to pick that up, but Dragoon picking up more himself.
He just says, look at me! Again, just gonna stare at him a little bit and walk away, hopefully with his life intact, but cool guys can't walk away from those kind of explosions. Unfortunately, Nike gonna find the return kill onto Dragoon, but Printer's looking awfully low at this point. Could be in some trouble. Sentinel of Zeus going to actually be able to provide the shield necessary to escape. Death from Above as well going to be used for the same purpose. A lot of big ultimates are now offline, and this is going to be Kingslayer's call to maybe just continue the engagement. No, they're going to instead decide to retreat on back. It's been a bit too chaotic. A 1-for-1 trade will be the result of that scrap.
Yeah, nobody really getting anything they truly wanted there. The beacon did end up falling, but the Fire Giant still standing. And what I'm surprised about is we have a Nike on the side of the Kingslayers. There's just one Sunder for the Stormcallers. And granted, it is on Strat. That's who you'd want it on. He already has it upgraded. But if Strat isn't nearby when Pwuntahs uses that Sentinel of Zeus, he's just kind of unkillable for quite a while. Like, Nike's ultimate is so good if no one has the ability to strip that shield away, and it allows him to just kind of frontline so well the entire time. I'm kind of scratching my head here why there's only one way to kind of get rid of the shield, because it kind of would just negate everything that this Nike wants to do.
I think it's a syndrome of, the availability heuristic is what they call it. The thing that pops up most easily in your mind is what you pay the most attention to, even when it shouldn't be the case. Chaos Titan can be driven back there by the Kingslayers. But it's like you said before, the flashier picks here, the Loki, the Anubis, those are the things that are going to receive your attention, and for that reason, things like the Nike that are consistent but present, they might not be the subject of such counter picking and counter itemization in this case. But now the Titan going to be just driving its way down to the tier 1 tower. Have to imagine that thing is as good as a gone. DepMoofin going to try to get some damage here onto CritOfTime. Could have been some trouble. Support's not going to be afforded to you just yet, and chunked out a little bit is the Loki. But caught out a bit by yourself there, my friend. Can you get to this guy quickly enough? Sliver of health manages to escape from the clutches of the Kingslayers. Around the corner, Pwuntahs going to be caught out by DepMoofin. Says, I see you there, buddy. Sentinel of Zeus to counter it. Leaping on in, trying to find the kill onto the solo laner. Might not be successful here, but to the skies and brought right back down onto the Sun Wukong. Gonna have to exit that fight. Letter's gonna say the same thing. Who's still present? It's Pwuntahs as well as CritOfTime. Gonna be brought down by Dragoon, but it's the same story as last time. Action replay. Pwuntahs gonna find the return kill. EmoticonFather gonna put a drop in the bucket. There goes Storm. And MattGuy doing what MattGuy does best. Just taking souls. Divine is this on her. DepMoofin's rejoined the fight, but with just the front line left, even with it being Strat, I don't like their chances quite yet. Strat gonna be locked inside the pillar. One more kill there for MattGuy, gonna bring him to double digits. DepMoofin, my friend, that's a nice staff slam for you. Gonna hit 4, but it's gonna be a consolation prize for the damage charts because you can do nothing about this.
No, they really can't. It's just him versus the world right now. The Kingslayers can do whatever they want. They got that tier 2 tower. They can choose to back up towards the Fire Giant if they want, even with a couple low health bars. But MattGuy, again, just going so hard on the honor. He's got 10 kills, 3 assists, and he hasn't died yet. This is just a masterclass of how to play on her. And I just am absolutely enjoying seeing it as they'll pick up the Pyromancer as just a little, easy pickup after that clean team fight win. The entirety of this Kingslayer squad is just playing so well together and doing exactly what they need to. Even when CritOfTime falls on that Loki, he's done his job. A late game Loki, either wins the 1v1 split pushes or just gets off a ton of damage before dying, and you're okay with that if that's what your jungler's doing. And CritOfTime is playing this Loki very well at the same time. We haven't talked about EmoticonFather too much, but he's 2-0 and 11 on this Baba Yaga. He's doing exactly what you want. Second highest damage in the lobby behind MattGuy. The Kingslayers are just playing so well as a unit.
30 minutes in here, near 8k gold lead. At this point, it's becoming a bit unsustainable, a bit untenable. You need to do something to reverse this pressure in a big way. We talked earlier, Doc, about the fact that the initiation should be coming primarily off of Strat with these Rivers Rebukes. Do we feel like that's been a successful endeavor so far?
I feel like Strat's had to use them defensively so many times. It's been LetterToMyself using that to the skies to bring members in, and its reaction coming out of Strat, and he might have to do it again here.
No, that's the reaction you're going to need quickly, my friend. Rack to the Impale, why don't you? Death Gaze, though, not going to look at him for long enough, and going to be brought down quickly there by the On Her. And who's going to be leading the charge? Pwuntahs. Doing some solid damage here to DepMoofin. Locked out by the body blocks. Where can you go? Only to the sky, my friend. And gonna indeed continue that theme with the Falcon form to retreat to safety. CritOfTime just being as annoying as a Loki can. Another solid engagement. Stormcallers get picked off one by one.
They do, and there's been Oni minions pushing this entire time as well, just adding to the pressure. And now Fire Giant started up by Kingslayers. Stormcallers not even really present to try and get this one out until DepMoofin teleports in.
I mean, he's had success in the past with these attempts to get them off it, but this one might not go quite the same way. Stunned out, and the Kingslayers will bring it down with the quickness before he can step up. And now, the damage is just pouring on. EFG on your side. EmoticonFather has no problem grabbing that killing spree onto the Sun Wukong. Uh-oh, to the skies? Where are you going? You crazy mad lads. It's going to be a heist attempt. Maybe just taking a traipse to the mid lane. Right lane is going to be where the action's at. Locked in the wraps for just a moment, but Dragoon is going to be under a bit of pressure. LetterToMyself grabbing a kill onto the opposing support just for the style points. Death from above. Gonna do decent damage, but not quite enough. And with the EFG regen and just the general tankiness of this team and its remaining members, it's going to be a tall order. Phoenix will fall on the solo lane side. With the Horus heals to provide, Kingslayers have no reason to abate just yet. CritOfTime, though, going to be looked at once again by Dragoon. Don't have Pwuntahs to get the counter kill this time.
CritOfTime getting a little ahead of himself, maybe. But Windfire Wheels is used, and this fight is not over yet around this speed buff.
I mean, EmoticonFather's gonna be able to grab Lycon easily. There's no death gaze for you, and MattGuy says, you're no threat to me without it, buddy. Gonna pick up the carry as well. That just fed them another 2 kills at the cost of what? Was that a Loki that you just lost? They're fine with that. Their 4v4 core is still so powerful.
It is, and it's TPing back in is Printers to now be full health. They're looking at this mid Phoenix. If they can get this cleanly, it could just look to end the game afterwards.
And there's gonna go Storm to the sky after Printer takes it to the back line. Just gonna have to use that ultimate once again. It's offensive, but it's really defensive, and you don't want to see the Marty under so much pressure. Just the win conditions that we mentioned at the beginning have not been allowed the space to thrive. Kingslayer is gonna offer the safe method here, grabbing the left tier 2 and just opting to remove all farm from the side of the Stormcallers.
A successful-ish defense coming out of the Stormcallers there. Yes, you lose 1 Phoenix, but you saved the mid bird. They didn't get that one. And it's the easiest bird to defend for the next Fire Giant. So there are avenues back into this for the Stormcallers. They played that fight fairly well, and we saw a glimpse of what, you know, this Yemoja can bring on the siege defenses around that right side bird fight. Use that River's Rebuke to kind of cut off any access in or out of that Phoenix. It stops the autos, it stops the engages. The siege defense coming out of Stormcallers is good, and so I like, you know, I'm glad they were able to play it well enough to at least kind of keep themselves into this game, because if they lost the mid bird or more, that might have just been game over. But now they have the ability to step up to this next enhanced Fire Giant and try to either steal it away or win a fight and pull themselves completely back into this game.
If they step at it, though, they need to step at it with a different game plan. What they have on the drawing board right now needs to be erased because it just has not been successful so far. I like what you mentioned there, that yes, the defense was good. The River's Rebuke felt good in that context, but I just don't feel like they've found the right way to implement it when they are initiating the fight rather than the fight being brought to them.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Stormcallers are really good at the counter punch, the reaction. We haven't seen them be able to kind of start things off, and I feel like that's just because of how behind they've been with how focused Dragoon has been. They haven't had a chance to really be the initiators, and they probably won't be able to do that either. Here's the left side birds looked at.
And Dep is going to instantly receive so much poke that Cloud once again just being used as a safe haven more than as any form of secure itself. Shadow Clone going to be just moving on up on the Vanguard, taken out with the quickness though as well. To the skies, where is the landing zone is the question. Just going to be right on top of the Fury. That's a bit rude of you. But hey, secure yourself a nice and clean, quick objective here. It's just going to further deepen the divot that Stormcallers need to work their way out of.
Yeah, scratch everything I just said about the defense coming out of Stormcallers. They still looked fine on that one, but they've lost the most important bird, the hardest one to defend now. And it's going to be so much harder to step up to this next Fire Giant. Kingslayers were able to siege back and siege again before their buff fell off and got everything they could have wanted. It's just 1 Phoenix left. They'll have such an easy time stepping up to this EFG. And now if I'm Stormcallers, you're either going for the Hail Mary, sending all 5 members to this next Fire Giant after you pushed out some waves, or you're sending one person, someone, you know, DepMoofin to try and steal it away, even Dragoon to try and, you know, get the Death Gaze kill or anything like that, but maybe they're going to look to take a fight instead before EFG even spawns.
And that's actually going to be both the Blink and the Beads expended. MattGuy looking to be priority target numero uno. But of course, Dragoon stands still. Dragoon dies. There goes Printers on the killing spree. Up, down for MattGuy. Can he stay alive to get the basics onto Dep? He does succeed, I believe. Oh, that was actually a clone. I got baited. Dep's still alive. There goes Printers on the front line, still trying to do the fighting himself. Dep this time going to make an exit with low health. Printers caught out with no friends, has to leap over the wall. EmoticonFather might be able to clean it up. That's not a shadow clone this time. It's the real thing. Rampage there for the Baba Yaga. 2 down on the side of the Stormcallers, 2 down on the side of Kingslayers. Who do we think's won out this trade as the fire minions begin to pour in?
It's 100% Stormcallers. That was a huge fight for them to be able to get those couple kills there, because anytime you're the one behind, if you delay the game, which is basically what they just did, kind of trading evenly there, it's always going to work out in your favor. It's going to give them the time to push out these waves. They managed to save their right side Phoenix, so that can start regenning. They might have not have, you know, they didn't get the deicide, they didn't get the flashy multi-kill, but they slowed down the Kingslayers, or at least I thought they did, but Kingslayers, seemingly only need 3 people to pull this EFG.
That's the issue. I'm telling you, man, they drafted their comp with this thought in mind. If we lose the Loki, if we lose any given A member that's not MattGuy, we can continue the pressure. But they have time to step up. Storm's gonna have to be the one to do it. Death from above. Kingslayers saying, not today, Jose. Gonna still manage to grab the EFG. Chunks being taken out of Lycon's health bar with the Baba's Brew. And Kingslayers is going to be able to successfully waltz their way out from this one. A Fire Giant dance, indeed, they are satisfied with.
And they even got it around the waist of all 5 members. That was just perfectly timed with the respawns to make sure that they got that one. Storm with a good attempt to try and steal that one away with Death from above, but unable to do so. And that just... it's starting to add more nails into the coffin for the Stormcallers. Every time they lose out on an objective like EFG or they lose out on a siege, it just makes it harder and harder for them to kind of pull themselves back into the game. They definitely still have the ability to do that. They have the tools on this next defense because of how late into the game we are. Everybody's full build, everybody's level 20. It's just a straight up fight, and they have a good siege defense. So I'm excited to see if they're able to make it work this time.
If I'm DepMoofin, I'm sending out that Shadow Clone first thing, because that guy was fighting with tenacity. Did you see MattGuy like fighting for his life against the clone? One more basic, I feel like, from the clone actually might have taken him out. That might be your win con, Stormcallers. Just take him up to the cloud instantly. Let that guy put in work. Left side Phoenix actually going to spawn up, but that means that Lycon's not present for this fight. As CritOfTime, actually, with the help of the bomb, manages to sneakily grab that Phoenix. Tries to get himself out of the fight, but might be brought down by Lycon. They're okay with that, though, having traded the bird. DepMoofin gonna be taken to this guys to safety. Indeed, CritOfTime will fall. Can the rest of Kingslayers make good on that sacrifice? Dragoon's awfully low. The Wrath will miss its mark, but so will the Axe Swing. You need a bit more there, my friend. Lycon gonna try to secure the life of his carry, but not gonna succeed. DepMoofin gonna find the counter kill onto Printers. Right bird will also go down. That's 2 on the side of the Kingslayers dead. 2 birds on the side of the Kingslayers dead. And only Dragoon will fall. Or sorry, on the side of Stormcallers, they're Phoenixes. But only Dragoon will fall.
And the third one falls to the fire minions because of how long that engagement went off. That is so heartbreaking for the Stormcallers. 3 Phoenixes down is almost always a death sentence. Is near impossible to try and fight back into that. And there's still EFG on 3 members. Most importantly, it's still on EmoticonFather and MattGuy, the 2 carries for the side of the Kingslayers, who have both, by the way, yet to die in this 42-minute game. They are just unkillable, and they're going to look to try and charge forward as Stormcallers are grasping at straws with this fury.
This is a very risky attempt, but they might have snuffed out MattGuy there, but a fantastic impale stun is going to put tons of damage into DepMoofin. To the skies you go, and to the grave goes Lycon, courtesy once again of MattGuy. He's godlike, fitting of the division. Fantastic performance from the Honor. The Fury is just a memory at this point, and LetterToMyself just going to do a little bit of a jig there on the graves of his enemies. Only 1 down on the side of Stormcallers, but nonetheless, it's got to feel bad when you try to make something happen and it falls flat on his face. And there goes DepMoofin to follow. No. This is looking even more dire.
Oh no, I don't hate the play to try and get Oni Fury to help with the pressure, but that might have just cost them absolutely everything as Kingslayers are just walking towards the Titan room.
It's going to be a tough one still. They have the damage core. You can stare at him a little bit, Dragoon, but not if you're in the air, my friend. Will you be able to secure the kill first? The shield gonna eat a bit of time, but Pwuntahs is gonna eat up the Jackal. To the skies goes Storm, but the members of Kingslayers still looking healthy. Titan can't say the same thing. Drop down to a quarter health, and CritOfTime will drop Storm just to add insult to injury. Game 1 is going to go to the Kingslayers. Yeesh. We had some spice. It was a spicy start to the game, and the game provided some spice in the gameplay as well. But in the end, just wasn't hot enough for Stormcallers to pick it up. Doc, tell me what happened here.
You know, it's hard to, and I never want to put it on one thing, but the Anubis pick just didn't end up working out. He had a good amount of damage, but when you have Sun Wukong Marticarus as your top 2 lock-ins, I'm loving that draft. And I thought there, especially you pair it up with the emoji, you got the Naja. There's so many good picks, but the Anubis, just didn't end up panning out. Now, maybe that was just a one-off thing. This could be something that they've scrimmed a lot. Dragoon might really like this pick. I'm not saying never play it again. It's just here it didn't work out, and that's, due to MattGuy and EmoticonFather just not dying the whole game. They did whatever they wanted. They free casted. The front line was just too strong for them to do anything about it, and Dragoon just couldn't get the work done.
I think we pointed to it on the desk, and I think a large part of the issue was the mobility of this team and the lack of on-demand CC on the opposite side. Sun Wukong can, mass slow you, single target stun 1, get a few knockups off the 100 transformations, but you're not going to be able to supply that quickly. You're not going to be able to supply that easily, and you're not going to be able to supply that en masse like you can on, per se, a Nike. You can just kind of knock everyone up, slow everyone down with the quickness. And when you have a backline as vulnerable as Dragoon, as the Anubis, you need to do more to enable him to carry, to enable them to look at them more. Unfortunately, his eyes were closed for a lot of that game.
Yeah, just unfortunate, but it's a testament to both what LetterToMyself and Pwuntahs were able to do on those picks. They did, they're not the ones with the flashy slash lines of 13-0 and 10, 5-0 and 18, but those slash lines for the backliners don't exist without the frontliners of this Kingslayers team. They, LetterToMyself was using the entirety of that Horus kit perfectly, getting great to the skies ultimates to reposition the squad. That's such a hard ultimate to use at the right time, and he was constantly on point with where he was taking people, when he was taking people, and Pwuntahs was able to just kind of jump in and disrupt all the time. He was the one on Dragoon in those last few fights, just eating the damage that Dragoon should have been able to, it was wanting to pour out onto the backliners. He was just not allowing him to do that.
It's unfortunate. I mean, it really is a testament to the performance. Nike, like I said, boring god, but man, is she effective, and is Pwuntahs effective on her. Much respect to the front line there. Also do want to throw a quick shout out, unfortunately didn't come up with the W, but DepMoofin there on the Sun Wukong, mitigating tons of damage and providing a pretty good force to be reckoned with there on the front line. You did have to fear the Sun Wukong, and you had to fear the Shadow Clone as well. I'm not going to stop talking about that guy. But with that being said, we got another game coming up right for you. We'll be right back after this break for game 2.
Caution, content's hot. 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 You got to give me all you got. Caution, content's hot. You got to give me all you got. Caution, content's hot. You got to give me all you got.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Smite Draft League. Game 2 here, Godlike division between Kingslayers and the Stormcallers. Kingslayers coming off a pretty hefty win there, dominant for much of the game. I'm Deelo, joined here by DoctahShru. And Doc, we're about to get into the P's and B's, man. What differences are we looking for?
Right off the bat, the Anubis was a great pick, fun pick, didn't work out. I think maybe go back to the drawing board, stay away from Anubis ADC, get something else, because the rest of the squad, there was good picks in there, and I understand the Anubis lock-in, but I'd like to see them kind of shift it up, because it seems like the Kingslayers know how to play against that.
Stormcaller is going to once again say, we don't want you to have your mascot. Just trying to really take a stab at their school spirit, but Kingslayers, for their troubles, were nonetheless doing just fine without it, so I don't think they're really quite too upset about that one. I have to agree with you. I like the unconventionality of those picks from last game, but the wiliness of it, the unexpected factor, only gets you so far before you adapt and you're like, okay, it's Anubis carry. We can just kill it. And as soon as you saw the Death Gaze coming up, or as soon as you saw it going away, more like, it was just a free picking. So hopefully Stormcallers is going to have some answers to that. And indeed, we see the Baba Yaga going to be banned away.
Yeah, I like that because Baba Yaga kind of just is deserving of a ban in general.
Period.
And after the performance that EmoticonFather showed on it in last game, it's deserving of a ban against him as well. So it's just a great second ban overall. I like that they're giving him the respect that he kind of earned in that game with that second ban.
It's always best to not like let your pride be your downfall. Don't say, yeah, we can deal with it, man. If it's a problem, get it out of there. There's no reason to be sticking to your guns like that. The rest of the bans will be pretty typical. Thor, Ravana, and the Yorm, which once again, probably a bit of a respect ban there against Strat, and the Kali to lock it out. So the Marty, must be said, is still at play here, but Stormcallers needs to do a bit more to take advantage of that pick should they decide to get it on their side once again.
Well, it seems like they're not going to prioritize it. DepMoofin, you mentioned how good he was on the Sun Wukong. I definitely agree. They locked that in first overall. And while I normally wouldn't think of Sun Wukong as a first pick worthy god, I think for DepMoofin, it 100% is.
Yeah, I mean, your front line is, like you said, what enables you to get those crazy stat lines. Stormcallers recognizing that says, we're going to prioritize it. But Kingslayers, this is the consequence of your actions. Going to pick up the Marty, and they're going to have to see if it can execute the best way that they could in versus to the Stormcallers performance game 1.
Yeah, and it brings that flexibility, right? We were talking about it in picks of bans for game 1. This could go mid for EmoticonFather. This could go over to MattGuy. And so I like that they're picking that up because 1, it's a strong pick, and 2, it leaves the Stormcallers guessing. But what they won't be guessing about is Letter back on the Horus, who just looked so good in game 1.
Yeah, I want to talk about what you mentioned before, is the fact that it's hard to use a Horus ult effectively. And when you find a player who's able to use that to disguise, not only just at the right times, but frequently, I feel like you don't oftentimes see that. You see it a bit put to the wayside in versus of the mobility and the CC that Horus provides. But using it for wily plays, for safe plays, there's really great skill ceiling to be had there. So I'm glad to see it being returned to the Kingslayers comp. Bakasura going to be new here, and Stormcaller is going to complete the Freaky Friday here because now On Her is on their side.
Yeah, the On Her pickup I adore because not only is he in a good spot right now, I think he's a great ADC. You're taking it out of MattGuy's hands, who looked unbelievable. He was just doing whatever he wanted the entirety of the game. From minute 1, he was a problem. So you take it out of his hands, make him play something else, and pick it up for yourself. And it looks like we might have Marticorous mid again, but this time for the Stormcallers.
Indeed. And now we have Ishtar being locked in by the Kingslayers. Interesting to see that god being played when Hachimon's on the table. Oftentimes you see her at this point, which is kind of funny. It used to be the reverse, but now she's low-key the Wish version of Hachimon. So what do you think is the logic of putting her up above him?
I feel like it could be personal preference, just who they're more comfortable on, but I also think that Ishtar can bring different things than the Hachimon, especially we've seen a slight resurgence of some kind of budget crit builds who, you see the Ornate Arrow and the Deathbringer picked up at the end, and that's like all the crit. Ishtar still feels good with crit, so I wouldn't mind if that's the option they're going for. And she's just as safe as Hachimon, has a good amount of setup with her ult, so I like this lock-in.
That's a good point. Despite them having some similarities surface level and kit, certainly do provide different things. And like you said as well, it could just be a matter of comfort. And like we said at the very beginning, comfort can mean everything. I think Stormcallers are hopefully, and it seems that they are with this first 3 picks, going to do a bit of a better job of having a more cohesive comp rather than the idea that you mentioned before of so much damage that cohesion doesn't really matter. But Kingslayers are looking to run back a lot of aspects of game 1, bringing back the Loki.
And I don't mind it one bit. CritOfTime did exactly what you want your Loki to do.
Yeah.
You run in, use the ult, get so much damage off, usually at least trade 1, if not 2, for his own death. That's what you want your Loki doing. And I love seeing it back here paired up with the Horus again. The dive potential is already great out of the Kingslayers, and we haven't even seen their last pick yet.
On the bright, Stormcallers on the bright side are going to try to maybe relieve some of that pressure that Loki brings. Agni's known, of course, for the safety that God provides, can rain down fire from millions of miles away on top of your head, and hopefully use that dash to evade those bad positions that you can be caught out in. A Geb would be a lovely call out for yourself to deny some of the CC and burst potential of the Assassinate, but maybe an Ao Kuang support. Why not? Get nuts.
I mean, Ao Kuang support, he's got to slow, he's got to execute a knock-up.
That's all your support needs.
It's totally viable. I can see it. He can even, you know, he can help set up because he can go invisible.
Yeah, he can counter the Loki in that way. They can both play some invisibility games, but no. It is going to be the Geb. What are your thoughts on that one?
I love the Geb here. Exactly what you were saying. The safety from that shield will be able to shut down a lot of what the burst potential that this Kingslayer squad already has, which is a lot of burst, by the way, because even Horus brings a ton of burst with that fracture into the knockup combo. There's so much kill potential, so the Geb is that ultimate form of safety, not just with the shield, but with Cataclysm to be able to just shut people down. My only thing so far that I'm seeing from this Kingslayer squad is they have a lot of pressure, but they are 4 physical. And if they're going to lock in a Guardian as their only magical, it'll be a lot easier for the Stormcallers to kind of itemized against what their damage is going to be.
True, but it's so big, bro.
Beneath the waves.
Emoja is actually going to be their only source of magical damage. Do you think that she's going to be building aggressively then? What's the Kingslayer's MO here?
I don't see a world where we see Emoja with damage. This also probably means that Pwuntahs is getting the Horus in the solo lane, so we're going to see it swapped between which frontliner is going to have it. I guess we could see Yemoja solo. There's a world where Yemoja solo, but I highly doubt it. I don't think she's going to build damage. I think they're just going to take their team fight and say it doesn't matter if you build Sob first and get all this physical defense. We're still just going to run at you and get the kill.
I'm not going to lie. I respect the moxie with that, but we saw how well that worked out for Stormcallers game 1, where they said our comp is we're going to walk at you and do damage, and it didn't quite go their way. So hopefully Kingslayer is going to learn from their opponent's mistakes, but only one way to find out, Doc. That's by getting into the game. Game 2 coming right up for you. Hello everyone and welcome back to the SDL. Game 2 here, Godlike Division. Stormcallers versus Kingslayers up 1. Stormcallers trying to just assert a little bit more pressure here in this set, or else their chances go down to nada. I'm Deelo, joined here by DoctahShru. Shruman, once again, I'm just going to ask you it straight up. Who do we think's got the early advantage?
Early advantage, I'd probably give to the Kingslayers just because of the... Oh, they stole the purple buff.
That's
Dragoon
rough.
already not probably too comfortable, but I feel like Kingslayers have that advantage because of the Emoja, because of the Loki coming online a little bit more than the Bakasura. Ishtar does fine in the early game. I feel like Kingslayers should have an advantage in the first 5 to 10 minutes, if nothing else.
But that is the issue then, right? Is the fact that you need to... The game's going to last a bit longer than that. We'd hope. So you need to have some sort of countermeasures, some sort of strategy, some walkthrough guide of what happens once the clock strikes 10. What do you think's their hope? Is it just to be aggressive enough early to snowball, or do they just need to counter farm as heavily as possible? What are they going to do to ensure they don't slide to the back?
It's gotta be the snowball and the fact that you have a Marticarus, which might not have worked out last game for the Stormcallers, but he's such a strong pick right now. And if they're able to kind of play around EmoticonFather similarly to how they did in the last game, it could work out for them in that post 10-minute world that we could see between these two teams.
And the only issue that's going to be with that, I agree with it. Snowballing makes sense here if you're going to go for a comp that has vulnerabilities in simply itemization, but I just feel like there's a lot of gaps in it. But could start with this. Solid blink engage there onto depth, but the staff slam won't be quite enough there. Updraft, gonna secure yourself the first blood there. Early advantage. So Doc says, so it goes. Kingslayer is gonna grab it.
CritOfTime did so much there because there was no world where Pwuntahs doesn't die. if his jungler's not there. He was able to use the dash to get some healing, kind of swap out who was taking the damage coming out of DepMoofin and just turn it all back around. That's a great early rotation out of a Loki, who should be making rotations a little earlier than Lycan on the Bakasura, because until Regurgitate comes online, Baka's just gonna really want to farm up, use that eat minion to just kind of snowball himself towards a late game.
That's it. That was what I was going to mention, is the fact that you have that easy farm secure could spell a bit of a trouble with Kingslayer's game plan at this point. But hey, if they keep on ganks like that, then they're going to be just fine. And the pressure is going to continue here in the solo lane, and you're going to see that Bakasura eat minion used just in a moment. Base get down to the right threshold, and there you go. It's as easy as that. Oh, wait, what? They actually managed to grab it nonetheless? That's crazy. They're actually managing to out-secure Baka, and the damage is going to follow. They'll make you pay for your steal attempt. Stormcaller is going to walk away with nothing but bruises.
Yeah, I think Lycan needs to know now that he's gotta be on point with that eat minion, because I was right there with you. I was like, oh, he's just gonna secure it. That's easy, but great secure out of CritOfTime and Printers to make sure that blue buff XP stays on their side of the map. And that's kind of slowing down what you want to do as a Bakasura. That is the early game plan, is invades, contesting farm, because it's so hard to out-secure eat minion. But it seems like the Kingslayers have some sort of tech that I just don't know about.
Yeah, they've like been studying the Fiji Mountains or something, because that was really solid timing on their part. Fantastic work. But it's also shown a bit of a theme here. The junglers are spending a bit more time in the solo lane than we saw, I feel like, ever in the laning phase of Game 1. What do you think is bringing about that change, and do we agree with it?
I do agree with it. I feel like the change is because of the matchup. The Sun Wukong is the same, but Horus brings a lot of pressure, but we could see even more in the dual lane instead.
There's the Yak attack, going to be met onto the Emoja. River's Rebuke, just going to be buried at sea there, my friend. LetterToMyself going to fall, but at least this time not the first blood. 1-1 reads the scoreboard, and gold going to remain slightly on the side of the Kingslayers.
That's a good rotation coming out of this squad to make sure that that goes their way, but there could be even more as CritOfTime is looking to get active.
Nice assassinate, just following the kill where it may lie, and Strat may lie right next to it, and resting arm in arm with his carry. You need the rollout, my friend, but Marty flapping his wings on over, happy as a clam. One basic will do it. The barbed tail, the dot damage, going to secure the kill. Both of the members of the dual lane will fall.
This is exactly what the Kingslayers drew up in this picks and ban phase. The early pressure coming out from this team is already working. They're getting their pressure all around the map as well. So not just kind of focusing on one point. I like that they're focusing the solo lane, that they're focusing the dual lane. I'm sure, you know, hopefully in the near future they'll start focusing out the mid as well and try to make sure Storm isn't comfortable. This is exactly what the Kingslayers would have hoped would happen before the lobby loaded up.
Yeah, it's all going exactly according to plan. Love it when a plan comes together, say the Kingslayers. 3 kills up to 1, and a slight 1,000 gold lead now to their name. I mean, it must be said, hold on, Blaze Retribution could be caught in some trouble there, Dragoon. Moonstrike gonna stun him for a bit longer, but gonna just disperse that backflip attempt. But pressure being put back onto the right-hand side. Geb gonna roll him out to safety. Not quite. Doesn't even need the gank there from the Geb. Lycon gonna pick up a nice and clean printer kill.
Yeah, good use of the regurgitate there. When Horus goes into that to the skies ultimate, he just has to sit on the ground, and that is exactly what Bakasura would want, to just easily be able to auto you down. So nothing really Printers could do there. Good rotation. And going back to your earlier point, I feel like solo lane is much more of a dynamic lane between, you know, Sun Wukong and Horus. There's a lot more kill potential on either side. Nike, as you've mentioned a few times, a bit boring in her play style, just about safety and tankiness, doesn't have too much kill potential in the early game. And so I like that we're seeing more prioritization towards the solo side from both teams.
Get Letter just trying to be an absolute troll. Not going to secure either of those buffs, but A for effort. And you're right, that actually does certainly make sense as a change up in pace from the solo lane, and the teams are adapting as according, and that's good to see. But the question is going to be, how will that carry on as we start moving into the mid game here? Stormcallers have afforded a bit more of that pressure back to themselves here. Let's talk about the dual lane here and the matchup between these two carries. MattGuy was the guy to look at in game 1. The Ishtar verse on her. Do we like it? Well, I think Emoji likes it. Gonna try to throw a Moonstrike on its head top, but not quite to too much success. But with crit around, this actually could be troublesome. You got to make sure the Honor is getting the safety. Baka as well. The war of the basics here. Who will win? Ultimate showdown here. But they're both just going to retreat back to lick their wounds. Now Strats arrive to the battle. Neither team quite sure who's going to lead the foot with the initiation. Just some bit of knock-up damage there on top of the Loki. Does have the ult in pocket. This could be troublesome. And now rotated in is EmoticonFather. There's the Blade Retribution, and Emoticon's going to be able to catch the Baka. Yak attack there, dropped onto the heads of two. The CC immunity is going to be good, but the bombs will actually be able to take out the Loki there. Nice job there. Rotations from the mids coming up big. Dragoon and Strat still trying to make something happen. Letter is going to be blink engaged on Storm, going to grab a nice and clean double kill. EmoticonFather might be next on the chopping block. Doesn't have the death from above. Do have the disperse for you. Rolling Thunder to just secure a bit of space and ensure the life of your mid remains up.
That was a good fight coming out of the Stormcallers there. Rotation from both of the mid laners as Printers does manage to make it out safely. But Storm just got the upper hand. He's reached that point on the Agni with that Divine Ruin online where his bombs are going to start hurting more and more. And he used them expertly there in that fight to make sure things go the Stormcallers' way. And, you know, we're not quite at that 10-minute mark, but if Storm is already feeling comfortable on this Agni and can already start to put the extra damage on, it could be worrisome for the Stormcallers who, you know, we were kind of talking about had a small timer. It's not the end of the world kind of timer, but it could come back to bite them here.
I mean, Emoji, hey, she's sitting kind of high on the damage charts. I don't know, man. She's looking a bit clean right now, so might have to watch out for the DPS that she's starting to output. LetterToMyself getting a bit aggressive here. I'd like to return back to the earlier question that I had for you, my friend, before that Loco fight. But come on, guys, let me have it. Gonna be blocked out a little bit. Letters could be in some trouble. Here's the rotation from EmoticonFather, and here's the bomb on top of EmoticonFather. Might be just posturing, though. Stormcallers just gonna give a little kiss and just wave goodbye. Returning back to it. The dual lane matchup here between Dragoon and MattGuy, Ishtar and On Her. Who do we think has the edge?
On paper, it probably should be Dragoon. I feel like On Her is much better in the 1v1. You have the Pillar to slow them down. The Impale is so good, and Desert Fury is as well, and we got to see a little bit of it there. But MattGuy has just been feeling himself in this set. He's got an advantage, and he might be looking to take the fight as ultimates get traded out, but nothing much will come of that. But more might happen around the green buff pit to interrupt our thoughts. Doesn't look like it, though. It's an interesting build coming out of MattGuy, though, on the Ishtar.
Any moment, it seems like one of these shots could connect the TIE Fighter shots. One more will spell your doom, Dragoon. Might as well back your way on out because the rotation is here from LetterToMyself. But Riptide just going to throw Strat back into the midst of it, stalling hopefully for MattGuy to get to safety. Yak attack there. Once again, the River's Rebuke to meet it, but what's that going to do? Just provide a little red carpet to the man's death. And here's CritOfTime, but 3 levels up, no fear from Lycon. I can basic you down with impunity, my friend. You don't have the damage, Emoja. You're high on the charts, my friend, but not that high. Lycon gonna take a bite out of her as well. Ooh. There's the Cataclysm. That kills now. Strat gonna find it. And meanwhile, EmoticonFather gonna find Storm in the mid lane. But Dragoon's return with health to spare, gonna eat some tower shots and get the assassinate off of CritOfTime. But the Loki remains safe for now.
What a back and forth fight with so many rotations, plus the solo kill happening in a minute at the same time. Both of these teams are playing very scrappy here in game 2. We're almost at that kill a minute threshold that you see so often in those scrappy games. Not quite though. I didn't quite get to finish my thought on the Ishtar and the On Her, excuse me. And I feel like this Griffin Wing so early from the Ishtar is an interesting choice. It's something we usually see starters get sold for in that ADC role. It does bring a lot, and I feel like it's probably what's allowing MattGuy to take these fights against an On Her who on paper has the better 1v1, because it's an item we see all the time in duel. It's very good in 1v1s, and MattGuy might be looking to just have that play style where he can bully out his opponent of Dragoon.
I mean, so far, both of the carries standing at 0 for 1, not looking to be the hotness of this game quite yet. Might be a different story later on. 12 minutes now, the beacon's open. And who's standing guard of it? It's Lycon, who I've really been looking to for Stormcallers as the primary means of damage. Gonna just, with the quickness, smoothly dodge those Blades of Retribution. Kingslayer's gonna put some meter on the board, though, for themselves. Who's here to contest? The rotation from Dragoon. Pillar's going to be amazing area denial and just a scary zone to be playing in. Gonna have to Desert Fury there to evade the Moonstrike stun. Put some decent damage on a Letters that's going to enable the first kill of the engagement. But in the meantime, who's been under so much pressure? It's been Storm, a bomb to serve his farewell and going to be capitalized by the Yak attack. Going to be death from above to match from EmoticonFather and the beads to follow it. But unfortunately, not much afforded from it. Stormcaller is still standing pretty strong here, but Strat could be under a bit of pressure if they decide to focus the support. But Kingslayers feeling a bit worse for wear from that one. Gonna just opt to let Stormcallers grab the first beacon.
They do pick that up, and it was fairly clean. And like you mentioned it there, Lycon on this Bakasura is the one leading the charge. 3-0-5 now, has finished off those chin size, so he's going to be hurting anybody that he decides to look at, regardless if they're front or back line. And I like the fact that they seem to be playing through him. I mean, he's level 14, only 13 minutes into the game. He's definitely who you want to focus on, and they're allowing him the space to do what he needs to do to try and shift these team fights in their favor.
The only saving grace there of that fight was Kingslayers had a recognition that Stormcallers had kind of left Storm a bit hanging. So they, of course, capitalized. So fantastic job to them to grab the Agni, who's been a thorn in their side for this entire time. Rotation coming in here from Lycon. Going to be the Yak attack in just a moment. Have to imagine the Ishtar will fall. Not quite able to get the kill and trade on the way out. There goes MattGuy. Welcome to the death screen again, buddy. Oh, and now Moofin might be joining. This could be troublesome. Takes to the skies just to contemplate what's going on around them. And that will unfortunately not be a secured blue buff for yourself. But hey, effort's what counts, my friend. And effort is what he's putting in. And rotation from Strat. I don't see there being too much kill potential here, especially with the easy disengage there from Printers. Blink going to be exchanged for it, but nothing coming here in the solo lane side.
It's a fairly back and forth and close game. The Stormcallers, they have the lead, but it doesn't feel like it's insurmountable at all for the Kingslayers, even with their more early focused comp. They're able to kind of stand up to what the Stormcallers are doing for the time being, but they need an answer for this Bakasura, who's level 16 now and has that Phalanx online. You even got a bit of tankiness. Gonna make it really hard for anybody to fully look at him, and that's the problem with the 4 physical. It allows him to build that because he knows only magic damage he's going to be getting hit by is there some bubbles and some walls of water coming out of Yemoja.
It just really opens up the playing field for you, and that's going to open a cavity in the health bar. The Loki there. Yak attack can do decent damage. Assassinate to match. Nice impale stun onto Printers. Could be in some trouble. Maybe regret that rotation over, my friend. Throw some more basics into your backside just for good measure. But Kingslayers will survive. A cheeky little pyro pull. But the bombs to match it could be able to counter-secure. Stormcallers looking for it, but first objective of the game will indeed go to the Kingslayers with that really smart pyro pull. And here comes the landing onto Dragoon. Ooh. Nice impale to guarantee your safety and get some space. Dragoon says, please do not get into my personal bubble, and manages to survive that engagement, but it was a great attempt there by the Horus.
It really was. There's also an amazing shield coming out of Strat to make sure he had the health to get that impale. A good combo from the dual lane as a whole to make sure they survived that gank. But it seems like the Kingslayers are wanting to get aggressive now. They're walking into the jungle of the Stormcallers squad. They're diving towards the towers. They know they have the better earlier comp, and they want to get fighting now and often to make sure that it continues to go their way, but they haven't been able to find anything onto this Bakasura, and I know I brought him up a lot, but he's just kind of free farming right now, and it's just getting scarier and scarier with every passing minute, and we could see even more in the dual lane.
I mean, the 3 lumped up, but they do manage to separate just a little bit. Having used the Disperse, could be in some trouble as Dragoon. Lycon trying to find a sneaky means of engaging, but CritOfTime, of course. Got invisibility, could be a bit sneaky. You're going to drop the decoy right on his head, but the minion just going to heal all that right back up and grab a shield for your troubles. What can you do against this guy? He's level 17. Just an absolute god amongst mere mortals. Stormcallers have their win condition, and it's going to be that. Mentioning what you said, The fact that Kingslayers are getting so aggressive, my only worry is that it's a symbol of panic rather than recognition. You need, yes, to recognize that you're on a timer, but you can't force the action too heavily. Otherwise, you risk everything going to the wayside. They need to find that proper balance of aggression.
Agreed. I feel like, you know, they slowed down a little bit. As I was saying that, they haven't quite been getting as aggressive, so they might be recognizing that. And you know who else is level 17 in the lobby? It's EmoticonFather on this Marticarus. He's 2-0. It's not as flashy of a slash line, but he's comfortable. He's confident on this pick. He's got the fail knot up, which is a big power spike for the Marticarus. Both of his items are fully stacked. He is someone that this Kingslayer squad could look to kind of play through in this mid-game period to make sure that things go their way, because he's almost as big of a threat as Lycon is.
That's going to be important to watch out for, because they've shown they're completely willing to rotate for it. In fact, here's a rotation right now. CritOfTime going to just try to afford the safety of his dual lane, but Stormcallers weren't really stepping up to it. Lycon's just showing face, and that enough is warranting rotations because they're so afraid of what the Bak is capable of.
Yeah, they rightfully are. I feel like they should be, as it's a tower dive on the side of the Kingslayers now.
And Lycon's going to be able to scoop that kill up with the quickness. Fantastic teamwork and tenacity. Kingslayers definitely felt safe there underneath the tier 1, but Lycon, it's Dragoon, make sure you don't feel too safe there underneath their tier 1, buddy. It's not your territory. Rejoining the fight is Strat, but in the meantime, EmoticonFather trying to find gold where it lay. A shield gonna be maybe eliminated by Loki. The flurry slash gonna be able to pick up the kitty cat, and there's more damage to be had here. Strat trying to swing some wild basics at you. Storms rejoin the fight, and Lycon's taking out MattGuy. Lycon's taking out CritOfTime. This man's unstoppable. Give him the triple, why don't you? Just for a bit more flavor. There's going to be a dash, but you have to imagine the Horus's life will go down in trade for daring to step up. Triple kill there onto Lycon. 3 down on the side of Kingslayers. Have to imagine that'll be the tier 1 next.
And it could just be a Gold Fury on the back of that. They're getting the beacon at the same time as a rotation from DepMoofin comes through. This is just going Stormcallers' way over and over. And we didn't even see EmoticonFather rotate over to that fight, but he constantly is wanting to. Every time there's a rotation towards duo, I see him walk towards that left side. He's always ready to take these fights. Didn't end up, working out there that time. Wasn't able to make that rotation. But I like the fact that he's at least wanting to try and keep up with the rotations that are coming out of this Stormcaller squad.
I think we've exhausted, essentially, the points of the timer and the fact that it's a 4 physical comp. So let's talk a bit more micro. What within Kingslayer's just gameplay, ignoring the comp, do they need to tighten up on to ensure their success for these coming engagements?
Vision, I feel like, is important. There's been so many rotations towards the left lane. It doesn't matter what comp you're running. You need to make sure you have vision to make sure that Lycon is not able to sneak around to anywhere. He doesn't have invisibility. He just should be. You should always know where this Bakasura is at all times, so they can kind of get their ward game up just a little bit more to make sure that they're never worried about getting surprised by a Bakasura. That's going to help them out so much.
CritOfTime really trying to find the assassinate range there, but Strat in heavy pursuit probably saying, the British are coming, please get your way out, and will successfully do so. Dragoon remains safe for now. 8-0 is the Bakasura. Definitely, as we've established, the one to look at here. Kingslayers, meanwhile, we need the Marty to be present for the next fight, and as members gather in the mid lane, might be obliged, or is the Pyro going to be first engaged? This is going to be an interesting call. Will Kingslayers decide to step up? LetterToMyself wrapping around the back, but Stormcaller's going to grab it with the quickness. River's Rebuke only going to catch one within it. It's going to be fine to take that damage. Dragoon looking to be under a bit of pressure from Crit, but a fantastic bomb stun. Met, though, with the death from above, and that will indeed guarantee the death of Dragoon. In the back, DepMoofin just trying to cause as much chaos as possible, succeeding at that. Lycon is divine. 9 kills, thanks to EmoticonFather. Appreciate that one, buddy. Just making their way into the tier 1 tower, walking fast, and MattGuy is falling down slow. Gonna be the health still guaranteed onto the carry. Will live for now, but that's still 2-1. Stormcaller is gonna win on that engagement again, 21 minutes in, lengthening that gold lead to nearly 4.5K.
Starting to get into worrisome territory if you are the Kingslayers. The lead now at the point where you're going to start to feel it more and more in these fights. You add the Gold Fury to that. It's just going to make it even more noticeable. And you're right. We've hammered home the point of the timer. We've hammered home the point of this DoctahShru being the threat. And I feel like, you know, it's just because of how much impact Lycon has had so far in this game, how much he's been able to just get away with, because he has a little bit of tankiness from the Phalanx and is able to just kind of stand up to what the Kingslayers are looking for. But you know, EmoticonFather is level 20 now. He's getting further in the build. He got a kill there in the mid lane, good use of the ultimate before he ended up falling. So it's something in their favor. And I feel like the Kingslayers can look to try and fight around these objectives, because the game does simplify a bit when you know where both squads are going to be. It's going to be harder for a sort of flank engage coming out of the DoctahShru.
And it also makes it easier for the Emoja, and I feel like across both games, despite it being piloted by the opposite teams. Oh, hold on a second. CritOfTime. You don't have quite the drift angle of radius of turn there as the Kuzenbo to get that Tiger Stun off, but nonetheless a good attempt. Strat now in a bit of trouble here, caught between two. Kind of just shield himself to safety. The Emoja, I feel like, between both games, Doc, has not been the most effective, and that's just because... Uh-oh, hold on a second. As I say that, might eat my words, a fantastic Riptide just put some damage on a Lycon's back. Will they ever let me finish my question? The Emoja, my friend, has, I feel like, been just a bit lacking on the wayside because the River's Rebuke can so easily be escaped out of by these prime gods that you're targeting. What do we do to counter that?
I feel like it will get better as time goes on, but there are just a lot of ways for this Stormcallers team to just not care about River's Rebuke. The leaps, the dash coming out of Agni, if it's not perfectly placed, he can make his way through there. Doesn't even really feel like they need a shell, but they do have one. And I assume that will get upgraded to allow them to get through the walls of that River's Rebuke. It should, though, for LetterToMyself, get better around the sieges, get better around the fire giant, because there's not as many avenues for them to escape from it, as this tower in the left lane is just completely deleted.
Oh my god, crit gonna be deleted right afterward. Fantastic multitasking from Lycon. Fight continuing here in the mid lane. Bombs dropping on the front line's head. Could be in some trouble here. Who's joined the fight? It's Lycon, but gonna be stunned with the quickness. Speeds to match to ensure the safety. There's a River's Rebuke, but the Ox just gonna be able to ride right out. And Print is gonna take a quick ride to the fountain courtesy of Storm and the Agni's damage. Tier 2 tower might fall. Good Moonstrike to hit too, but the follow-up's not there. Stormcaller's gonna call for the disengage, but could be in a bit of trouble. You might have to sacrifice one for it. A fantastic Noxious Fume Stun from Storm to guarantee everyone's safety.
Stormcallers are just able to take these fights so well. They did get low there. The Kingslayers were able to turn around quite a bit of damage, but it just wasn't enough to find any kills, and they lose 2 and the mid-tier 2 tower at the same time. Stormcallers, they haven't won yet. They have not run away with this game yet, but it's getting harder and harder for the Kingslayers to kind of step back into this. But Prophetic is stacked now for LetterToMyself. It's going to be a lot harder to deal with the Emoja. She's going to be so much tankier. And I kind of hope we see, we saw such greatness out of LetterToMyself on the Horus. And we've seen, little glimpses of what this Emoja can do in their hands. And I'm hoping that now that the Pridwin and the Prophetic Cloak are done, as well as the Compassion, should be very hard to deal with this Emoja. And I'm hoping we see some great setup come out of this support player.
Hopefully going to be seeing a step up there. As, like you said, things get consolidated, the fight targets become obvious. Those abilities like the River's Rebuke become a bit easier to land and channel people into an area you want them to be. Speaking of depth, right where he wants to be, in the back line, gonna have to mosey his way on out to safety. Ironmancer being grabbed by the Stormcallers, and just gonna take a quick ride in the Riptides there. It's fun to have a little play in the water for a little bit. It's funny. I don't talk about items that often, Doc. You know this, but we see the sovereignty being provided by the Emoja, and I don't think I see it on the side of the Stormcallers. What's up with that?
That is an interesting call. You're right. I think I saw the sovereignty and just kind of assumed it was on the side of the team who was facing the 4 physical, not the team that had the 4 physical. I guess they're really worried about what Dragoon and Lycon can do.
I'm worried about what DepMoofin can do to get out of this one. Caught between three. Death from above is going to hit the Shadow Clone. Do you think that's the real one, buddy? Don't make my same mistake. DepMoofin going to re-enter the fight, but could be in some trouble. The rest of his members have disengaged. Dragoon going to come at just the right time to take down CritOfTime. Printers might be next. Brought down to low. Cataclysm expended. The beads as well. Stomped down by the Lion. King of the Beasts. Storm gonna find one off the back of it, and a triple kill there for the On Her. Excellent impression of MattGuy from last game. Gonna be put now onto the heads of the Stormcallers. It's a near deicide Titan battle gonna go their way, and a Fire Giant to boot. Excellent multitasking.
Yeah, this is such great macro and micro play coming out of the Stormcallers. And maybe On Her is just more broken than I thought he was, because it seems like whoever as him is just able to do so much right now. Dragoon looking great on this pick as well. And speaking of multitasking, they're gonna add a Phoenix to the list of things
Why
they're
not?
getting. The Stormcallers are just kind of starting to run away with this one now.
It's fantastic communication. That's what that's owed to. 2 weeks in, you love to see that. It's not the easiest thing to manage with so little time put onto the team, but it's fantastic to see nonetheless. They're going to make sure to just make their presence known across every single lane, taking as much as they can before dipping. But they're not dipping. The Titans strutting on forward. Seems that at this point, they're going to call for the retreat. Do we agree with that? Should we have pushed the advantage with what we had, or just let the Siege Juggernaut die?
I feel like it's the safe call. You got one bird already. We're only 28 minutes in. It's not enhanced Fire Giant yet, so it's a little bit harder to kind of step up into these structures and take the fights for free. And so just do exactly what they're doing. They can get more gold, finish off the remaining, items that they need. There's still a few tier 3s that need to get finished up for both Storm and Strat. Get some wards, get some power pots, reset, and then you can kind of choose to siege wherever you want. They have left and right to choose from. It looks like they might just want to take a fight in the mid lane because the fights have been just going their way.
The dual lane leading the charge here, Dragoon and Strat. Trying to make something happen. Does have the Cataclysm, and there's the Desert's Fury right afterwards. Self-banished to guarantee some safety, but EmoticonFather's got to land at some point, and it's going to land in the Yak attack. But the minion's going to just walk right into the wall for a little bit. A bit embarrassing there, my friend. Lycon going to retreat back, head in shame. But they still have the potential to push something. The question is what? They're not quite sure after that unfortunate mishap that netted 0 kills where to go from here.
And if you're the Kingslayers, this isn't the worst as long as you don't drop anybody, because they don't have pressure in much of the lane, so it's going to be hard for them to step up to the Phoenixes. You just got to make sure that you do not lose any members, because that could just spell game.
Watch CritOfTime. That's the man to look at. Excellent, sneaky play here. I love the guerrilla tactics, just like a Loki should be doing. And there's Storm. I think the dash might have been expended. That's your cue, buddy. Enter stage right. Some solid damage, but didn't have the kill quite yet. Drop down to half is Storm, but unfortunately not going to be quite the successful ambush he was hoping for. Now the left side Phoenix being engaged on. Rivers Rebuke gonna say, "Nuh-uh, you don't leave until I tell you to, buddy." But Letter's gonna have to take an early exit courtesy of Dragoon instead. Fantastic work, Lycon to clean up the back. Immortal is the Bakasura. Dep gonna sweep up EmoticonFather, and a double kill for Dragoon will guarantee it. Triple kill for the second time.
Wow.
On to Kingslayers. Deicide. That's gonna be the 1-to-1 to make it a 3-game set. Fantastic work by the Stormcallers. Kingslayers didn't have any answers for the Baka. Well, thank God. If I didn't see a Stormcallers game that had that victory screen, I would have rioted, because that thing is beautiful. But game 2 here. Stormcallers mounting a very, very solid, authoritative comeback. What happened, Doc?
Bakasura happened, and On Her, both just leading the charge there on the damage. This Bakasura, though, just was untouchable. I don't think he died the entire game. Just completely able to take fights however he wanted against whoever he wanted at any point. Indeed, did not end up falling 11-0-9 on that jungle pick with just 23,000 damage. That wasn't the longest game. That's a lot for a Bakasura who's kind of not the best in the early because he's so focused on farm. That was just a masterclass of how to play Bakasura coming out of Icon.
Yeah, fantastic.
Or like
play.
him. So.
All right, I'll allow us to mention it one more time. We talked about the timer. What happened with that? Did they not just meet the requirements necessary to get into the 10-minute mark? Do we think that we tried this comp again, or is it just a bit too ambitious?
I feel like it's just a little bit too ambitious. It's the same problem like you mentioned the Stormcallers had in game 1. It's a comp that says we are going to walk at you, we are going to do more damage, and we're going to win every fight. And they couldn't. They couldn't just get that done because it was so well executed on the other side by the Stormcallers. I feel like just the same as I was saying for Stormcallers in game 1, it's time to go back to the drawing board, pick something else new. We're still early in the season. Everybody's trying to find out what comps work best for your team, because even if you're comfortable on this pick and it's a meta pick over here, do they mesh well? Do your play styles mesh well? So just try something else out, because that one didn't work, and that's okay. Now you have game 3, becomes a best of 1, and both of these teams have shown that they have the ability to win these fights, to win these games. So just try something else out to see how that works.
Absolutely. In the end of the day, it's a 5v5 game. Can't rely on just your own brute damage to bust your way through the walls to the Titan. But only one way to find out how this climactic saga will all end. We'll be right back after the break for game 3. Hello, everyone at the Smite Draft League. Welcome on back. Game 3 here. Godlike Division, Kingslayers versus Stormcallers. Who will end up on top? I'm Deelo, joined here by DoctahShru. Doc, man, I hope we've gotten our sillies out when it comes to the P's and B's, because I'm looking for it to either be played completely straight here, or I want to see every pick be off-roll.
Yeah, we've definitely had an interesting couple games, and I'm so excited for this one because I think we're gonna see some more spicy picks come out. I feel like it might not be the same ones, but it's early enough in the season that we're gonna see those picks come out. But I adore the On Her ban. Whoever's had the On Her has won in this set so far, and we see so often in sets, mostly in best of 5s, but even in best of 3s, like mini metas develop. And the mini meta for this one is On Her is really, really good in the hands of both Dragoon and MattGuy. So just get it off the board.
I love how we're just taking on each side. Anything that's been a win con for these past 2 games, out. And then, of course, the obligatory set ban on the side of Stormcallers. They really are keeping up with thematic consistency. Kingslayers, if they had the gumption, would match it with a shock ban, but guess they ain't built like that.
I love that.
But, that's okay. So let's talk about the fact that Honor could have been their first pick. What do we think Stormcallers is looking to prioritize since they have the first pick and they banned out the Honor themselves?
Well, the Marticarus has been, prioritized between both of these teams. Jormungandr has a chance to make it through, which would be a good thing to play for. And Ravana's still up too. So Kingslayers cannot ban both of those away. And they will take away the Ravana. So Jorm is up for the first time all set. That would leave Marticarus open for Kingslayers, but if Stormcallers are wanting to play for that to get DepMoofin something different, I don't mind that at all.
I am very curious to see how this all works out. The front line's been prioritized for the past couple games on the Stormcallers. This is a pick we've seen banned away the past couple games as well. Thor going to be the first lock-in for the Stormcallers.
I don't know how I forgot about Thor. There's just too many good picks open when you have to ban away On Her and Set and Bakasura. There's so much left on the table. Thor is a great pickup. He brings so much to any team, and after what we just saw from Lycan there, I adore this pickup for them first overall, and I'm not against the Tiamat pick, but it feels a little early in the draft.
You seem a bit unimpressed, and I understand why. Maybe the Kingslayers are trying to channel their Immortal Division counterpart, the Zarsith, who is obviously known for this.
Yeah.
I love that. That's if we're talking spice. I love Miaklina. I love the high skill ceiling plays that her passive offers. And just given the way that we've seen Kingslayers with their Horus pickups has been very willing to be wily, to be innovative with their movement. That's fun. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. See, to me, if these two picks were the last two locked in, I'd be singing the praises. But it seems like neither team care about the Jorm or the Marty anymore. And I am flabbergasted by how this is happening, but they're hovering the X ball. But Tiamat and Kalina are both great picks. I feel like they, I've been seeing more Tiamat going back to that library build that we saw so often in the early stages of season 10. It still works on Tiamat, even with the nerfs to those items. She procs them so well, works so well with them. So I don't hate that pickup. It's just I feel like we're doing the draft out of order where Jormungandr is going 5th overall somehow.
It's strange, but it works brilliantly. I love the Jormungandr pick. I'm curious to see where it goes. I know it's a typical solo, but honestly, I could see Strat just being like, hey, buddy boy, my way. Send that over here. I think you're right about the Kingslayers and how oftentimes with the beginning picks, you want to keep your cards kind of close to your chest, but Tiamat's going to need a while to farm up, stack up. Kalina's going to be an interesting pick, and now the Hou Yi to match it. What are our thoughts on this pick?
Hou Yi is one of my personal favorite hunters. He's so good in the 1v1, and we've seen how good that MattGuy is in that 1v1 type of style. I like this pickup, but it's spicy. You were asking at the beginning, are we going to see straight Smite or just random picks everywhere? I assume we'll see them in the correct roles, but there are definitely some spicy picks coming out of the Kingslayers right now.
It's the opposite of straight, bro. This is bouncing off the walls, ricochet style. I like it though.
I
got a question for you. This is a personal question, Doc. It cuts close to the soul. Do you play Hou Yi instacast or quick cast?
Quick cast.
I hate you, Nooblet. Look at you. Look at you. Fool. Look at you. Anyway. I agree. Thank you. That's all. Continuing on. I like the way you... No! Bring me back! I'm sorry. You shouldn't mess with the production. Ever.
Yeah, nope.
Love you, Nooblet. Anyway. Hou Yi. Lovely pick. Jormungandr. Also a fantastic pick. What does that offer your comp in general?
I feel like for the Stormcallers in particular, because of what you mentioned with how Strat has the ability to play this in solo, Jorm doesn't normally, or in support, excuse me, Jorm doesn't bring flexibility, but he does, and he could for the Stormcallers if they want to give that to him, because there's still a lot of priority solo laners out there. Achilles, Sun Wukong, so many options. If they have that flexibility into it, it could be really impactful and like give them a step up in this draft.
I mean, Dep has been on the Sun Wukong for 2 games, and yes, they lost game 1, but it doesn't seem like they ever really found the answer specifically for it. So I'm curious to see if that will make a return, and a Wheelix is going to be Stormcallers' have to imagine jungle pick. They do have some knockups off the Yorm. What are your thoughts on this addition?
I think it's great. You got the knockup from the Yorm. Tiamat has a jump in the kit. Ho Yi's only form of escape is a jump, so they have that to be able to help out with too. Awelish is very good in the early game. So hang on. I'm wrapping my head around this now. This is Thor solo for DepMoofin, Jormungandr. I don't know why I was...
What?
Okay.
What?
Okay. Ao Kwang mid?
Let's break it down.
Your
here.
mid. No, it's your mid.
No.
Please give me your mid.
No, it's got to be Strat. Hold on. All right, we got two bearded men here. Let's scratch our beards real quick. Think on this one real quick. Like genuinely, I'm at a loss at this point, my friend. Why your mid
Your
over?
burdens not hold you back.
Over what?
Okay, sure. I
guess
I'm okay with that. Kingslayers are playing a different game than Stormcallers right now, bro. Stormcallers, I think they're playing like TF2. They're playing TF2 right now. I've got no idea what they're going with.
Atlas is a great pickup. Just to talk about what Kingslayers are doing, I love their team. It's not necessarily every standard meta pick. Atlas and Susano see quite a bit of play, but it's good. It's good, roles in everything. I like it. Stormcallers. I suppose you could go Storm on the ROM and Ao Kwang ADC for Dragoon. I mean, but he's played Anubis, so he could really play anything here, and it wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me, but the question is, will it be effective? Surprise, as we found out with these past two games, only gets you so far. But I don't know, man. Enough shock. Let's get into the awe. We're going to get right into game 3 in just a moment. Don't you go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Smite Draft League. We got Godlike Division, Game 3, Stormcallers versus Kingslayers, both vying for the title of the Week 2 victory. I'm Deelo, joined here by DoctahShru. I'm going to ask you it again, and this one, I don't know how you're going to make heads or tails of it, but each comp, who's got the advantage? What's up, Doc?
I guess I got to give it to Kingslayers. But just because I understand what their team comp is going for. I understand how they're wanting to play this game. It all makes sense. It's standard Smite. And we have Storm on Thor mid on the other side.
Okay. Okay. Yes, but this is what we have, and this is what I'm happy about. Strat on this god, on this skin, is a absolute machine. I am very much going to be looking for attention. Don't even care about the carry. Honestly, the support is going to be the far more impactful factor here. But okay, let's go back to Thor mid, because there's plenty to talk about there. Matchup against Tiamat, how it slots in general, what does it offer, and what are the disadvantages? Talk to me.
Disadvantages are going to be around, Fire Giant objectives, because Thor cannot do what mages can do to kind of burn down things. But advantages, I can think of quite a few. I mean, he's going to have a lot of pressure in that lane. He's going to be able to do a ton of damage. He's going to be able to rotate early and often with the semi-global presence that Anvil at Dawn brings out. And CritOfTime is also going to look to rotate early over here in the solo lane.
This could be an opportunity for a nice early kill. Ao Kwang, not the most mobile, and certainly less mobile if it's dead. CritOfTime going to find the first blood for the Kingslayers.
This Thor, though, a good rotation out of the jungler of CritOfTime. I don't want to take away from his first blood kill there. It's just this Thor is like hyper focused my attention right now. He might look to get aggressive, a good knockup to kick things off.
Ruination's not going to find the stun, and they are going to just need to find one more basic will do it. You're going to have to blink for it. You're just lazy like on, but hey, a kill's a kill. Going to even up the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want. A Wheelish and Thor are going to be able to act as like two junglers. And then you add DepMoofin in. They're going to be able to just become this 3-man unit to rotate around after we get out of laning phase and absolutely blow up anybody who gets in the way, even with DepMoofin going a bit tankier, which he might need here.
Yeah, because again, the engagement is going to be good. Solid damage put on, but did have the water illusion in pocket to guarantee your life. Lycon's going to take that opportunity to try to steal away a nice and clean blue buff and will be able to do it. Like you mentioned, we have two junglers here and both very capable with the mobility, but Susano can match it with that jet stream. Stormcallers gonna go aggressive and body block. Here comes Kleena with the final slash to do the damage, and it's going to be good. Lycon will fall, but Pwuntahs will go up to the skies and be gobbled up by the dragon, dropping right back in. Storm gonna find a kill and a letter to myself across every side of the map, coast to coast, kills to be had.
That's the early rotation ability that Thor mid can bring to you. He's already over in that left lane. Use that Anvil of Dawn around the purple buff. A good rotation coming out over there. But in the jungle fight, to me, I would expect an Awelish to win the 1v1 against Susano here this early in the game. Didn't end up working out though. At least, you know, it was able to have kind of a turnaround kill there. But this game has so many interesting facets of it that you never see in a normal game of Smite because of all the interesting picks on both sides.
This is quirky. There's only one way to describe it. This is quirky right here. But I'm loving it. It's going to be fun for sure. Okay, so I don't even know where to start. Where does your mind just go? We already talked Thor mid. Where does your eye wander, Doc? What do you want to talk about?
The solo lane matchup is super interesting to me. I adore Kleena in the solo lane for the same reasons that she's good in the jungle role. Like you mentioned, the passive, be able to just rotate around in a way that no other god in Smite is able to do. And Ao Kuang solo is also super interesting. These are very different picks. You know, we're in a meta that's so heavily prioritized on tankiness and warriors, and both opting to go for assassin style play styles. It's gonna really change how these late game team fights work.
Right now, working a bit against letter to myself. What I also want to talk about with the Atlas, what's great is it keeps his feet on the ground. He's very sturdy, very hefty. That's his job. So you at least don't have to worry about that being an issue when it comes to the knockup. But there it is with the blink gravity surge off the amazing coordination from Strat. Man, they really made a liar of me because that Atlas sword and instantly was dropped down to the grave.
Yeah, a great rotation out of Lycan on that Awelish to get that kill. That is, if they can continue to have that coordination, Strat and Lycan, it's gonna be so hard for the Kingslayers to do anything, because Yorm's knockup, I mean, he can literally be invisible before he knocks you up. You might not even know he's there and not know that you need to be safe from a knockup that could get you killed by the Awelish. That this could be a devastating combo. And you were already talking about Strat, you know, being so good on this pick. You also mentioned on this skin. Is skin diff a thing with Strat?
Absolutely. I mean, I've never seen him play another skin, but absolutely. Gonna have to find out. Pwuntahs got the right skin equipped, though. Not quite. Storm. That Thor might be in the mid lane, but certainly is not looking mid on this gameplay. Nice kill pickup there. The rotation ability, man, it's like you said. How do you keep up with the mobility? I feel like you just gotta stay in Fountain.
Yeah, unless you locked in Giannis, there's not a lot of mid laners that can keep up with a Thor in that mid lane. So very, very hard for EmoticonFather to keep up with anything. But at least they've been able to farm up the entire time. They have a level lead. Thor has 2 kills. Storm is 2-0-1, but is half a level, maybe a level down onto what EmoticonFather has. So I think that's got to be the game plan for the Kingslayers. Understand that you're going to have Thor ults on cooldown in one of the side lanes, and just thrust in your mid laner to use that time to farm up and be able to get a bigger advantage late game.
All right, so it's a new game. It's a new timer. You talked about the fact that the FG fights is where the Thor's weaknesses as the mid laner are going to start showing. What's the clock that Stormcallers are running against here before things start to naturally fall against them?
I feel like they're going to be okay if we make it to the hyper late game as DepMoofin just deletes Pwuntahs underneath the tower. But they might not have a chance to make it there because look at more aggression coming out from the Stormcallers.
And there's the cripple from the Rolling Assault, World Serpent, and also the global presence from the Snipes. Not going to find the last shot, but the kill will not be had on either side. Lycon dropped down to very low. Both junglers looking to be in trouble. Beads expended there by the ROM to ensure he doesn't get sucked back into the tier 1. Letter's just strutting around trying to cause some more havoc for Dragoon because he realizes the rotation from EmoticonFather. being out-rotated by the Thor, a rare sight to see. Will the Ruination have your back? Needs to get a bit more damage on. There it's gonna be. Lycon falls to an unfortunate back when he thought he was safe. But EmoticonFather certainly wasn't. Swanton bomb your way to safety after the beads. Can't consume him away. He's not low enough. Strat is going to provide that kill onto the Jormungandr and going to provide the double, in fact. Skin diff indeed, my friend. I told you, this guy is unstoppable on the snake.
He is, and I didn't even notice. Look at his build. Sentinels into Rod of Tahuti, first item on your support. That, indeed. I don't even... This game has so much in it right now, and I feel like you said it early in the game that it's gonna be, you know, who cares about the carry? It's gonna be Strat on the Yorm. With the build path he's going, that seems to be the game plan for the Stormcallers as a whole. Dragoon just gonna have to accept the fact he might be the secondary role between these two.
They have 2 jungles and 2 carries, and they might have 1 kill in their pocket. CritOfTime once again is able to sneak underneath the tower, but the snipes will be good this time. Can put a couple more arrows in the back of MattGuy for good measure. The global presence of Stormcallers, offensively, defensively, their ability to disengage, engage, is so fantastic. Oh no, though! Storm can't use that presence this time. Gonna be consumed by the Tiamat.
Wow, that's a good kill from EmoticonFather there, and it was a good kill for Dragoon as well. As just the global presence, as you mentioned, there's nowhere to hide if you're the Kingslayers. You're gonna get Rom sniped, you're gonna get hit by the Anvil at Dawn, you're gonna get hit by the World Serpent, and even DepMoofin, if he successfully gets his execute off, has a slimmy global presence.
But this is troublesome. Stomp him out after the sun calls down. There goes Dragoon. Sun will set on that guy's life. MattGuy gonna try to assert himself, hasn't died yet, so you still could look for a repeat of the action we saw game 1. Let's talk about that then. We've been going over so often Stormcallers' unconventional comp because it fights against the traditional means so much. Who is the hope of the Kingslayers to stand against it?
I feel like MattGuy is a good choice. Ho Yi brings teamfight presence. With the Suns in his ultimate, he brings 1v1 because of the stun from Ricochet and the knock-up once you have the 2 on him. He brings a lot at any phase of the game. I feel like it's a good person to play through. And we haven't said his name much this game, though we've said it a lot throughout the set. CritOfTime on the Susano is going to be able to do so much in the late game. Susano is impossible to 1v1, as he's so hard to deal with, has another big circle to use in the team fights with the Typhoon. Kingslayers definitely have tools.
But MattGuy just got his eliminated. No escape for you, my friend, because the Wheelix ult is going to have to be countered by the beads, is going to be countered by the presence of the Rom. There goes MattGuy's relic and his life. Letter just a saunter back over to the mid lane. Both of them looking very happy for it, but could be in some trouble, because now the pathing might not be the safest. Mjolnir's attunement going to get him back to safety, and going to opt to not use the jet stream aggressively. I don't know who they're waiting for, but this is diabolical. The Stormcallers actually need to calm down.
They're going to try and look for MattGuy here. I might have caster cursed him by saying he was the one to look out for, because they're going to try and dive him under the T2.
He's invis. They don't have the ultimate, but what they have is the power of friendship and the Wheelix in the jungle. Dragoon going to find another kill. That's just BM, my friends. But it's like we said, MattGuy might be the guy to look at. Everyone heard that. Sorry about that, buddy. Hoi Yi's going to take a quick trip to the fountain. Stormcallers at liberty to just make this jungle their own. And on this god, Strat has the capability to do so. Gravity Surge onto Letters. Execute onto him as well. Killing spree there for DepMoofin. And now the fight's in the mid lane. Didn't see that one coming, did you, buddy? Swanton bomb to safety. But nonetheless, just knowing that no matter where you are not safe does not feel good. Especially if a Thor is in the sky.
No.
Brought down with the quickness. Didn't have enough damage or support to get the kills off himself. DepMoofin gonna say, I'll sweep that one up for you, buddy. Gonna get the return onto EmoticonFather.
The Stormcallers are just playing so well as a unit. A roaming death ball is the entirety of this Stormcallers team. And DepMoofin diving under the tower, though he might not want to be there.
Bro, that's crazy. Chill out. Gonna unfortunately receive the suck into the tower and get spat right back out into death. Nice job there by CritOfTime and LetterToMyself to coordinate that one. That's what the Atlas provides you. Excellent CC.
He does, and there's a lot of good setup coming off of that CC as well, not just from MattGuy, but from CritOfTime, from EmoticonFather, but poor MattGuy, not again.
Leave him alone. You guys are crazy. Gonna have to try to go for the stomp. The gravity surge might have missed there. Ricochet did oodles and noodles of damage, but Lycon will end up on top once again. Strat is just like a roaming harpy. This guy is crazy. Look at him go. Gonna grab a speed, but why not? Just take it all.
He's got even more damage. The Chronos pendant to follow up the Rana-Tahuti. If it wasn't for Sentinels, he'd be full damage at this point, and he basically is.
He's so crazy. I mean, this is the case where the unexpected and the surprise factor is actually moving into their favor. Because it's not just the picks. They're adapting their play style to it, and that's what's key. They're setting up ambushes. They're playing as aggressive as humanly possible. It's a complete whiplash, change of pace from games 1 and 2. And Kingslayers need to find a way to react to it, and quickly. A nice bead bait there is going to be a solid start, but the Thor ultimate on top of the Atlas could spell some trouble. But not too much damage to be had there. Going to take to the skies as the Rom caught beneath 2. What goes up must come down. Might be dropping down 6 feet under, courtesy there of CritOfTime. And now, in the mid lane, the fight continues. They're deep in pursuit of the Tiamat. World Serpent gonna gobble him up. Killing spree there for the support. But is it really a support, or is it just another carry? Strat gonna saunter his way back to try to save Storm, who's been fallen by CritOfTime. Do you have enough members of the Kingslayers to take down the raid boss? Typhoon not gonna knock you up, but will still bring him down. Triple kill there for CritOfTime, who's now entered the mid lane. Can he grab more? Quadra kill there for CritOfTime, picking up Lycon. It's exactly as you said, big circles win the day.
That is exactly what Kingslayers needed at the perfect moment. Punish the almost greed coming out from the Stormcallers right now. The support has no tankiness. They blew up Strat once they decided to look at him, and CritOfTime just goes so hard in that fight, using every part of Susano's kit to perfection. They pick up a Fury on the back end. They've evened out any sort of gold lead that the Stormcallers might have had, and if they can just not allow the Stormcallers to be the ones to group up first, they can continue to kind of punish this unconventional Smite kind of draft idea that the Stormcallers have gone for. They just can't allow the pick comp to continue to function the way it has for the first maybe 14 minutes of the game.
The death balls hit a speed bump, and it's working to great effect. Kingslayers have found a way back into this game, and that's by utilizing their team grouping and just the natural abilities that they have as a team due to their more traditional comp, that they can kind of just get the edge up. It's like you said, man, at the end of the day, once they start grouping 5 for 5, the weaknesses of Stormcallers draft, though it's been beautiful to watch so far, the flaws will show.
Yeah, and it's not that the Stormcallers are just done now, right? Kingslayers got a good fight win, and Stormcallers, they still have Strat with full damage, who looks like, to me, at least it's a hybrid item he's going to go into next, whether it's Ethereal Staff or Warlock Staff or wherever he just chooses to go. But they can still do the things that they've been doing this entire time. They'll get a successful purple buff invade off, and they're going to be looking once again towards MattGuy, but at least CritOfTime is here to help.
That's good. They have the defense. The Kingslayers need the guards this time because MattGuy is the escort target. Strat, you are crazy. Gonna eat a lot of damage for it there, but gonna have to expend the ultimate for safety. I mean, that's what it provides you, but not how you quite want to see it spent. Strat can retreat back, and Decision Beacon might be the next point of contention. I cannot wait to see how they duke it out 5v5, but Doc, who do you think comes out on top? I have fear that Kingslayers will just simply dominate.
Yeah, it's starting to look that way, but if EmoticonFather gets pulled back in, that could be worse.
And there's going to be the Feather Step to secure that kill. Beads expended a bit too late, my friend. And Dep might be next. Dropped down by the Gamma Ray. Unfortunate. And taking to the skies, Thor going to maybe try to finish what he started on the CritOfTime. That Quadra is something you're going to pay for, friend. Shut down there by the Thor. Excellent Mjolnir's attunement to get to safety. And the wall will miss its mark. That time might cost you, my friend. The pole won't be quite had just yet. Lurching Claw can do solid damage. The Banshee's Wail will secure it. Mid-tier 1 will fall in the meantime. It's Strat leading the charge. You need more members of your team to stand up against this raid boss, buddy. Letters and Printer's going to see if they're up for the task. But Strat's got no fear. And I've seen this before. He can bully you out until his health bar reaches 0. He does not care.
Yeah, he is definitely the raid boss right now. Full damage and still doesn't look like he takes too much damage when
Nope.
he's standing there in front of multiple members. And something I just am now kind of realizing is we talked about the kind of double jungle that the Stormcallers have between Lycan and Storm. The Kingslayers have that too. Look at what Printers is building. It's all damage. This Kleena is going to be able to absolutely blow people up. And you pair that up with how much damage the Susano from CritOfTime is going to have. They have their own version of the similar kind of play style where they can flank around together, they can dive together, and just delete backliners. I feel bad for both Dragoon and MattGuy because once team fights start, they're going to have so much struggles to try and stay alive.
The difference maker is going to be that Rama can self-banish and keep to the sky for a bit longer, but going to try to keep Tiamat in the ground. The snipes, bit off the mark there, my friend. Might need to get a new contact prescription. The rolling assault might guarantee your own death. In fact, EmoticonFather standing safe, but there's the ultimate from Thor. Low health, but the shield's going to guarantee his life. Dragoon's life can't stay the same. Once again, the Thor is stomped out by the Gamma Ray. EmoticonFather will shortly follow, but DepMoofin, pulled back into the midst of the fight, is going to be taken out. A nice gravity surge there, but only gonna give you a bees as your reward. I don't know if you should be farming right now, friend. Call Suku, ride your way to safety. Strat might be the next target here. 3 down for 1. Kingslayers feeling good.
They are. The moment they started grouping up as a 5-man team, things have just been going their way. They're the ones who are able to step towards the beacon, but they might just choose to go for the Gold Fury instead, prioritizing that objective. Yeah, hey, this is the second objective we've seen in 19 minutes. That's interesting.
I mean, it's spelled so far. Pretty decent for Kingslayers if they can just keep grouping up. Oni Fury will fall to them. Stygian Beacon might be going to the way of Stormcallers, but will they be able to survive with their lives intact? Banshee's Whale can do some solid damage into your back. Could be in some trouble here. One more hit will do it. The knockup, though, is going to actually guarantee the reversal. CritOfTime and Matt will fall. And there goes Letters for a nice double on Lycon. Here comes Thor arriving quickly to the scene. And Printers is barely going to be able to escape with your life. Just a few more shots will do it, but the egg is to match. Here come the snipes. Is the shot good? It is. 4 down on the side of Kingslayers. You can't imagine that EmoticonFather will be standing much longer. It's going to make an orphan of the Kingslayers and a deicide for Stormcallers.
Well, I guess throw everything I was saying about the Kingslayers coming back once they grouped up out the window, because Stormcallers are just built different. A 5-for-none trade going their way. They got the beacon. They said, you can have the Gold Fury. We're just going to take all 5 of your lives. They get the Pyromancer on the back end. And Strat, with this unconventional support, did upgrade his starter, so he's a bit tankier now. But they're doing the playstyle of, we don't need tankiness, we don't need sustain if the enemy team is just dead, and they're playing it so well.
The difference maker between this comp, because you're right, it is that. They're looking for damage, but they have a game plan. There's an easy flowchart. I knock someone up with Strat, and then we blow them up with a Wheelix, or we let their own initiations, their own escapes, their own leaps be the nail in their own coffins. So they have a much more streamlined game plan while at the same time relying on the individual capabilities on each player. Let's see if Dragoon can use his capabilities to get out of this sticky situation. Could be in some trouble, backing on out with the rolling assault just in time for Thor to land. But it's a big ultimate down. At the very least, Stormcallers will retain their lives for now.
Yeah, Dragoon had to use the beads as well, so he'd be a little less safe in the ensuing fights until that comes back off cooldown. But I 100% agree. The game plan is very straightforward, even with this strange comp coming out of the Stormcallers, which they didn't really have with the Anubis. They have, the strangeness is now Strat with full damage, right? And he's able to set so much stuff up, and they could look to set up this Fire Giant as well. Where'd the health bar go?
22 minutes. It went down in Strat's pocket. Stormcaller's gonna grab it, and with Strat and the World Serpent, that spells trouble for you, buddy boy. MattGuy, once again, just priority numero uno. DepMoofin gonna look for him in the backside, but has the leap and no Wheelix to match it. Now Dep is caught out with no execute targets for himself. Letters is gonna serve the role just fine, though. And next could be Crit. Lycon gonna bring him down with the quickness. Could be in trouble here, though. Members of Stormcallers looking a bit low. Might need to disengage. Dep still in the back line. Could be consumed here by the members remaining of Kingslayers. Still 3 strong. But lurking around the corner is Lycon, and in the skies is Storm, brought down on a MattGuy's head like a lightning bolt from on high. DepMoofin is now trying to find EmoticonFather, might not be obliged. That Primordial Onslaught is doing a decent amount of damage, and they're just gonna take what they have, but what they have is 3 kills.
3 kills and a fire giant around all 5 of their wastes. This is exactly what they want as long as Lycan can make it out, and it looks like we'll be able to do so. That they just burned that FG so quickly. Apparently, I don't know what I'm talking about, because Thor mid can allow them to get a fire giant at 22 minutes quicker than the Kingslayers could even respond. They absolutely melted it. It's pulled them even further in the lead here, 5,000 or so gold in their favor, and now they have the ability to just kind of pick a lane and start the siege. And this comp from the Kingslayers gets a lot worse on the siege defense. Tiamat can kind of push the waves out a little bit, but CritOfTime and Pwuntahs both want to kind of flank around. They both want to get, you know, off angles around the fight. And when you're you know, stuck underneath a Phoenix, Kleena can go in a wall, sure, but it definitely makes it a lot harder for them to kind of execute their own game plan.
Yeah. It's so rough, because I feel like it's just a damned if you do, damned if you don't. And the question is, will they do? The Primal Fury, the sun's been dropped on it, but Stormcallers is just going to amble 3 steps over to the right, and that's not going to be an issue. It's a big ultimate down off of MattGuy, who Stormcallers have made clear they have no issue in priority targeting, so might want to keep that ultimate in your pocket next time. It's a question that I asked during the scouting grounds when he was on this exact same god. When you have someone pumping out so much damage, but is so inherently tanky, as is Strat, do you gun for him first, or do you decide to try to dive the back line and just stand the breath on your neck?
I feel like they should. Kingslayers should just look at Strat. He's always the one leading the charge. DepMoofin is the tankiest person on their team. So they can just look at him, try to burn him down, at least try that for one fight, because he's kind of just been able to walk freely at them, and the T2 goes down.
MattGuy might go down next from the snipes, but not quite this time. Dragoon, unfortunately, just didn't have the ability there to just knock him down from that 1/3 health perch. Posturing potentially for a mid or left side Phoenix. Stormcallers have done a fantastic job wrapping around and grabbing the structures remaining here. Stygian Beacon opening soon might be the safe objective to go for, but Stormcallers have been playing anything but safe. What do you think they go for here, Doc?
I'm not entirely sure. I feel like they could have definitely looked towards that Phoenix, but maybe they knew Pwuntahs was in that wall and did not feel like stepping up, because Dragoon was kind of just perfectly out of range for what the Kleena wanted to do, unless she wanted to dash out of there. And so I feel like they have this aggressive comp, but they're playing it smart. They're not over-aggressing. They're not, you know, taking fights that aren't going to favor them for the most part. They are understanding the strengths and weaknesses of this interesting comp. So taking it a step back there, taking what you've already gotten with this early fire giant, I adore that kind of mindset from Stormcallers right now.
And there's going to be the Gravity Surge expended for the actual attack speed bonus, and molly-whopping CritOfTime, but going to be luckily brought down by MattGuy. Big shutdown, but Thor is here to do exactly that to you. Might be stomped into the ground. Hope you got your juke shoes ready there, MattGuy. Here comes Thor, right on his head, but not going to hit it. One basic is all he needs. That's going to be the killing spree there for Storm.
Yeah, that is just not at all what the Kingslayers were looking for, but at least they turn around one and get the beads out of Dragoon, but it seems like Stormcallers are wanting to push this right here and right now.
There goes the beads off EmoticonFather. Swanton Bomb expended as well, so you have some safety that you can't rely on if you dive the Tiamat. But Strat might be the one leading, but like you said, it's Dep who's tankiest, and he's going to be taking it right to the back. Going to be taking a lot of damage, though. In return, Phoenix is targeting you, buddy. Might want to amble your way on out. The doors aren't quite opening just yet. That's because they're too distracted with Strat taking down the mid Phoenix, and Storm trying to provide as good a distraction as possible. Might be a bit too good there, friend. Printer is going to make you pay for sticking around a bit too long. Strat now in the World Serpent, untargetable for a bit. But when he lands, could be what they need to take out. Dragoon will fall, and Strat, the final boss here of the game, taken down by Letter. Support on support violence. You love to see it. 3 down on Stormcallers. Everything has gone back in Kingslayers' momentum favor.
It really has. They get a good fight win off the back of that. Unfortunately, they lose out on their mid Phoenix, but it's not the hardest to defend, so it's not the end of the world. And they're going to start up the Fire Giant now. They know it's just Lycan and DepMoofin who are the only ones left available, and they're trying to zone them out. Fire Giant getting a bit low. And looks like they're committing to it.
Pwuntahs is being so sneaky here, hanging in those walls and wailing Banshee, screaming at anyone who tries to get near. Fire Giant at a bit less than a third. Who's going to lurk around the back? It might be Lycan, but no longer in the DoctahShru. You're going to have to choose your target wisely. Didn't quite have the eventual Super Spirit to get the hit onto Matt. And now Kingslayers are actually going to grab themselves. The second FG will go to them. Titan will fall shortly afterwards, but that's got to feel bad after you've been doing so well. Stormcallers, unfortunately, have to come to a halt.
This game is so back and forth, and I guess, could you really have imagined it being any other way after the first two games we saw and this picks and ban phase? These teams are just trading haymaker after haymaker on each other, and the most recent one, Kingslayers landing that one by taking that Fire Giant away. That will allow them to kind of, you know, push out that mid wave comfortably, make sure that no fire waves are making it into the base, and now they're the ones who can look to maybe siege down that mid lane. But Stormcallers, they're still the ones getting aggressive. They might look to try and split push this tier 2.
That's going to be easy pickings for them. Meanwhile, in the left side, you have Lycan, who might be stacking up against him, and showing face in the mid is Storm. They just fading back into the underbrush, doing a fantastic job, just like they were doing during the laning phase. Grouping up, death ball, hit them where they aren't. It's fantastic play by the Stormcallers.
Which is in the wall here, but will decide to back up after seeing the members of the Stormcallers. I want to see the Kingslayers take a fight here. You have Fire Giant, and yes, this Stormcallers team is absolutely terrifying. I want to see them take some sort of fight, and it looks like they're just going to continue to stay on the defense for right now. Stormcallers just still have all the pressure in the world.
We're at 30 minutes here. We've talked a long amount of time about, in the early game, who we were looking to step up, be that rising star for Kingslayers, and it was CritOfTime. 30 minutes into the game here, Doc. Do we think that's come to fruition, or has someone else risen up to take the gold medal?
I feel like CritOfTime is still doing so much work on the Susano, and will continue to need to be the one doing a lot of work. He got the Spirit Robe, so he's a bit tankier, can survive a little bit longer, and I like that coming from the Susano. But EmoticonFather is, you know, top of the player damage charts right now. This Tiamat is absolutely starting to swing, has finished out the build, and I feel like with the kind of unconventional support that's going to be a little less tanky, you know, I've kind of hammered that home a lot, but it's because it's something I'm not used to seeing. EmoticonFather could be the one to look towards Strat and just kind of blow him up.
They're going to look for Dragoon in the meantime. Only one in mid lane. CritOfTime going to take some damage for it. But here comes the support. The backup is here. It's going to come in the form of Lycan and Storm. Going to sweep up the 2 kills. That's a trade we'll take anytime. A GameStop trade there for Kingslayers, but Stormcallers quite happy with how it's ended for them. Midbird will fall as well. The Suns will fall on Strat's head, but he's invis. He can just sneak his way on out. Enter the World Serpent for some easy damage. Around the back here, DepMoofin maybe looking for a sneaky engage off the execute, but just gonna stand by, watch Strat do his thing, because it's a beautiful thing to watch it work. But MattGuy now walled off. Use that leap with caution, my friend. Luckily, Lycan wasn't around to watch it happen, but who's waiting for you? It's Dep off the cleanup crew, not pulled up, but pulled in, and nonetheless brought down, thanks to LetterToMyself. The Ao Kuang will fall. It's a 2-for-2 trade, but Dep is down for quite some time.
He is, and he bought enough space for that left side Phoenix to fall as well. That's now 2 Phoenixes down, but they could at least get a little bit more, and they will with that kill onto Lycan. So the Kingslayers grabbing what they can, but this is a lot harder to defend now with 2 birds down. Your right side bird is also fairly low, so you have to be worried about it, but I like what I'm seeing right here. You got a good fight win. Start to push back. I mean, that was still a tier 1 tower 32 minutes into the game in the mid lane. Take these structures, get that gold in your hand, and try to turn this around.
They're going to try to turn it around on their side, though. Stormcallers having none of that, going to instantly bring down MattGuy, and the snipe shot's not going to be quite enough. LetterToMyself brought down to a sliver, thanking his lucky stars he had the health for that. Storm can't say the same. Brinters lurking from the wall. A bit of a jump scare there for your friend. But unfortunately, don't have to worry about that when you're in the fountain Only 1 for 2 there. This still could be troublesome if Stormcallers decide to push it. Strat's going to lose his ultimate as well. It's going to be 1 tower, though, only. Like you said, a tier 1 at 30 minutes. Stormcallers brush that off, say, take that any day.
Yeah, this is so hard for the Kingslayers right now. That not really able to do anything with their Fire Giant. In fact, they were the ones getting sieged upon the entire time and only got that 1 structure in trade. They are winning some of these engagements now, though. You know, that was a 2-for-1 in their favor for the Kingslayers around that mid T2. But it's almost one. I'm wondering if is it too little, too late. They need to start to try and get these picks and be able to do something off the back end of it. You know, F. Dot always used to say it's the stuff after the stuff, and that's what I need to see from Kingslayers here, is to be able to get these picks and make something a little bit more of it come from it. But it's the Stormcallers who are getting that stuff right now, starting up the Fire Giant.
They got the double stuff, bro. They got the stuff to spare. It's only gonna be printers with the Tear the Veil. Trying to put some damage on their heads. Kingslayer's going to steal the EFG thanks to printers. Fantastic play there from the Kleena.
Wow, that is just... they must have not expected the damage that Tear the Veil can put out. The Gamma Ray Burst was coming too, just in case they needed that extra secure. That is great out of the Kingslayers, knowing they can't fully step up because of the map state with those Phoenixes down, but they steal away not only a Fire Giant, but enhanced Fire Giant, because we've crossed that 30-minute threshold. That makes it even stronger for them. They're still on this defensive back foot, but if the Stormcallers press this too hard, if they don't respect the damage that this Kingslayer squad's going to be able to put out, this could really be a big turnaround for the Kingslayers.
Stormcallers are still opting to have some aggressive stancing here. Printer's gonna feel some of the pain there. I have to expend the beads, in fact. Could spell trouble if you see Lycon pull a sneaky pull there, but Dragoon's gonna be blown up instead by CritOfTime. Storm can only watch. There goes DepMoofin trying to make something happen, but unfortunately, it's no longer the laning phase, buddy. Don't have those easy executes on tap. World Serpent is gonna put some more damage on the Printer's back for the stat board. Get yourself back up there, buddy. You've kind of fallen a bit in the wayside. Strats, Yorm. Unfortunately, it's no longer scouting grounds, it seems. Kingslayers, how have they found the answer for the raid boss?
They've just been focusing the right targets, I think, and CritOfTime is completely online and feeling himself right now. Lycan needs to be a little careful trying to solo out this Oni Fury. They will pick that one up, which means Oni Fire Waves, and at least the left lane will be a lot harder for the Kingslayers to deal with, but they've been able to focus the right targets. It doesn't matter who you're focusing, but it's so hard, especially early in a season, to make sure you have the right communication of calling your targets and everybody sticking to them. Seems like the Kingslayers have really started to do that, and they are just blowing people up, like what we saw with Dragoon in the mid lane. He just wasn't there.
Yeah, they're unfortunately no longer... They're trying to multitask a bit too much. I respect it. You're trying to make a lot happen, and it sometimes feels really bad just mentally when things are starting to slide out of your grasp, but you can't thrash around. You have to still have meticulous, methodical gameplay. Hopefully going to be brought here by Strat, just once again doing Strat things, but you don't have the backup that you need. Just trying to maybe have an armed escort for these Oni minions. I don't like the chances, though. 2 Phoenixes have risen back from the ashes, and that's going to spell Kingslayers return to full health of their base.
But now they're going to have to defend all 3 Phoenixes at the same time. It looks like a 3-2-2 split coming out of the Stormcallers here, who don't even have Fire Giant, and they're the ones sieging.
This is going to be troublesome. Dragoon going to have to just be put on the fritz once again. As soon as the Astrolabe is cast out, I'm getting my way out of that radius. The power of the big circles that Kingslayers wield is one to behold for sure, and Stormcallers need to respect it. Strat, though, that's a man with no respect to his name. Gonna try to take a quick dive into the Phoenix, take a chunk out of CritOfTime. But DepMoofin looking worse for wear and gonna be screamed at a little bit. Just doesn't like being yelled at. Gonna have to retreat to the jungle camp. This is troublesome. They have really great tools on the side of the Kingslayers to just continuously push them off, and the EFG to boot. But the left side Phoenix is slowly being whittled down here. The question is, who will begin the full engage?
It is lots of dancing back and forth between these teams, but CritOfTime will blink in to try and kick things off, but unable to find too much. It looks like once again, we'll just continue to dance around these Phoenixes. The Kingslayers are doing such a good job here buying time, but the Phoenix might end up falling.
The tension is so thick you can cut it with a knife and the balloon will explode alongside Lycon's health bar. Strat gonna re-enter the Phoenix just to burst it down, but burst down himself soon afterwards. A brilliant show of sacrifice by the supports, but was it all worth it? Dep now in full-scale retreat. Dragoon and Storm as well. It's a left side Phoenix down, but 2 at the cost of it. Who wins this one out?
It's so hard to tell because once again the fire giant that Kingslayers picked up was used for nothing but defense. It seems like no matter what is happening in the game, the Stormcallers are the ones pressing W, and they're pressing W over here as well in the red buff pit.
The red buff needs to absorb some more shots for their depth. Not enough though. Gonna be the final basics. MattGuy coming back online. It's a game 1 resurgence, the victory tour. Gonna look for some snipes. The other carry trying to put on some plays of his own, but not gonna be quite good enough. The lurching claw, the Banshee's wail, gonna find Dragoon. Storm gonna find his own kill on EmoticonFather, but he's the last bastion of defense. You gotta stay alive. Not gonna be obliged. Momentary deicide there, courtesy of Pwuntahs. It's only Lycon up at the moment, but Strat's back up in 4. That's the raid boss. Do you decide to challenge all the way to the throne room? Mid Phoenix will fall first. Kingslayers might be testing their luck with a minion wave in. Gravity surge there on a crit, but the beads to match still has the basic damage. Will it be enough? It's going to be. Strat, the raid boss, succeeds once again, bringing things back for the team with the help of Lycon. And now Kingslayers defeated, dejected, not quite, thanks to Pwuntahs. Rampage for the cleanup, and now Strat's looking to be in quite a bit of trouble. Tear the veil, tore open a huge chunk of your health bar. Titan just trying to clear out these minions. Returning to the fight is DepMoofin. But meanwhile, the fire minions of Stormcallers' own begin to do chipping away. That Titan is going to be a successful defense. But my God, has it been a scary one.
That was such an intense call coming out of the Kingslayers to try and go for the end there. There's still two tier 2 towers on both of the side lanes. That Titan is tanky at the moment. I feel like they could have easily taken that win, gone stripped away the rest of the tower, set yourself back up, but they decided to go for it, and they got fairly close. Strat did so much work on this Yorm, though. He's so hard to deal with, and it seems like that's going to be enough for them to start up this FG, but Kingslayers are very much aware of this and should look to contest this one out.
You have the Tear the Veils again. Pwuntahs been making sure to posture very, very sneakily behind the back. Gonna maybe look for Dragoon, but the Fire Giant's very low. You need to drop those Veils soon, my friend, or they're gonna grab it for themselves here. Kingslayer's gonna get it a second time. Letter's gonna fall in trade, though. Who will come out on top overall? The Dragons are both lurking in the ground and in the sky, so above comes from below. Dragoon gonna find CritOfTime right afterward. It's 2 down for the Kingslayers for 70 seconds. This is troublesome. What will Stormcallers make of this?
They have free reign right now. They don't have the Fire Giant again, but that has never stopped them before. They can just walk towards this mid lane Phoenix and take it without too much issue. They have a 5v3. Dragoon has crit, and he demolished CritOfTime with his crit, and he could just look to continue doing that. They're playing it safe. Again, they're being smart about this, but they have all the advantage stepping up to this Phoenix.
Dep's gonna step in and instantly get burst down to a quarter. Less than a quarter. Will he survive? Water illusion gonna get him past that wall. Doesn't want to expend the lurching claw to pursue. EmoticonFather could be in some trouble at the hands of Storm. Left side Phoenix isn't up quite yet. The snipes are, though. The shots will not be good. Are you gonna take a trip to the fountain? You're crazy! Storm not gonna find that kill. Has to Mjolnir's attunement back to safety. Left side Phoenix about to be up. Need to burst it down quickly. There it goes, and there it goes again. Gonna be instantly dropped. 2 birds down, both the good ones for Stormcallers. But will the retreat be as good? Dragoon could be in trouble. Lycon gobbled up by EmoticonFather. This is looking to be another even kill trade, but Dragoon's only here to box. Strat arrives, the raid boss, the prophet of your existence ending. Could be landing on top of the CritOfTime. It's gonna be able to find one last kill before falling to the grave himself at the hands of Storm. Strat's looking low, though. Pwuntahs gonna pick that one up nice and easy. Storm in full-scale retreat. Dep trying to get the execute with all he has. Manages to succeed. Letters will fall. Storm rejoins just to maybe give some moral support there. And Dep moving to the back. Is he going to try to end? This could
No
be
shot.
insane. Here goes the Anvil of Dawn to stall him out. Gonna instantly burst Emoticon. Printers as well. It's a deicide thanks to Storm. And DepMoofin leading the fire minions to victory. Stormcallers call game. It's going to be a 2-1 set. Ow. Tell them what happened.
It was arena with some lanes, I think. That was absolutely insane. What an end. DepMoofin just making the call. I thought it was going to be over aggressive again. I was ready to talk about how Kingslayers now are going to have the advantage, and they just were able to get it done. That game was insanity. I don't even know where to begin to break that down.
I mean, you say arena with lanes, but Kleena has no lanes to even worry about in the first place. I just say arena. I just say arena with Strat.
Oh my gosh, that was just absolute insanity from minute 0 all the way till the end. Both teams played it so well, and my heart goes out to the Kingslayers. They had so many absolutely insane siege defenses, so many insane team fights. I mean, Printers stole 2 Fire Giants with that Kleena ult. They played their hearts out there, but the unconventional smite coming from from their opponents in the Stormcallers was just too much to handle. What do you do when a full damage Strat on Yorm is just walking at you?
Pray.
Yeah.
No, it was genuinely majesty to behold. As soon as we talked about the Yorm, you said it. You were like, Yorm's gone. It was, 5th pick, but first pick in our hearts. Like, Jesus, that was insane. Shows exactly why you ban that god every game. You don't just slack game 3. You don't just wait for the assignment to fall on your table. You make sure you study up, do your homework when you go up against the Stormcallers.
Yeah, that absolutely insane. Both teams played so well, but there can only be one winner, and today it was the Stormcallers.
Indeed, and we have a special treat after that special set. We got an interview. We had our ace reporter on the scene, Sun, going to be interviewing the victors of this game. Let's take a look and see what they got for us.
Hello, SDL fans. My name is Sun, and I am joined here with Strat, the support for Stormcallers. And Strat, you just won 2-1 over Kingslayers with the reigning champion Emoji Daddy on that team. How are you and the team feeling after losing game 1 and coming back to win the next 2 games?
To be honest, we were just all tired, all of us, because we had all played in the off season right before for it took I played from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. or something. It was insane. I was just exhausted. It was too much comp smite for me.
So feeling pretty good though that you managed to squeeze out a win?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome. And speaking of the off season, I noticed that Dragoon picked up an Anubis ADC for game 1, and taking a little bit of inspiration from Hydrogen, who made his way through the off season and ended up winning after playing quite a few games as Anubis ADC. How were you and the team feeling about him picking up Anubis ADC and then seeing it gives similar KDAs to Hydrogen's, which was in the negatives?
It was definitely my call on that too, by the way. we saw we had a Marty mid, and we were like, okay, we already picked physical everywhere, and we forgot about our ADC picks. We needed something magical, but Dragoon thought that every magical ADC would feel really bad that game. So Dragoon hovered the Anubis, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's good. Lock that. And then ended up not doing as well as we thought. I can tell you for sure that Hydrogen's name did come up in the conversation. And I think Storm actually played against it in the offseason that day. So he's yeah.
I can't remember. There were so many games that went on that day that it was
a lot of
Smite on Saturday for sure. So, and for your team, you guys seem to be cooking a lot of picks from this set alone. This is your guys' first set that we've gotten to see, and we saw an AO solo, which I personally love the AO solo, and I know a lot of teams don't look towards it, but you guys did, and you had a full damage Yorm support that was piloted by yourself, and you had the Anubis ADC. So is this team just a lot of chefs that are just happen to be paired together, or did you guys just really think you could win this set with all these atypical picks and all of these roles?
I think it was more so us just all being like pretty burnt out on like the try hard normal stuff for the day, so we just like decided to like have fun with it. And I mean, I don't know if you remember, but with the like one of my scouting games that I played, I did play Yorm support in that one, so like it is something that I play quite often in like ranked and stuff. So there's a good chance that I like to play that.
Yeah, I remember vaguely your Fenrir and Kuzenbo support, and one of the games you played Kuzenbo, you had like 2 or 3 damage items, and then the other game with Fenrir, you were full tank, but you were just running amok the whole game. So I do remember those scouting ground games.
Yeah.
So I know that you're a little bit of a spicy support player. So is this the last time we're gonna see Anubis? Excuse me, Jormungandr full damage in the support role?
I don't really know. There's no way to really tell. It's hard to say.
Fair enough. We'll leave it up for the rest of the weeks to see if it gets picked up again for you guys. And speaking of your next few weeks, the rest of the teams in this division, how confident are you at finding wins over all the rest of these teams in the Godlike division?
Well, seeing as MattGuy gave us some trouble on the Onher in game 1, that's not somebody we expected to give us trouble, but there's a lot of like really good players that we do expect to give us trouble, and if somebody like MattGuy can come out and do that to us, then I'm kind of curious to see what like a bigger named player could do. But overall, I think personally I'm gaining a lot of confidence right now, so I should be in a good spot. But my team, me and Dragoon and Lycon play together on a different team, so we all feel pretty good about like our ability together.
So you guys already have all that synergy kind of built in too, because you guys looked really good in this set. So
yeah.
All right, and is there anything else you'd like to say to your competitors or SDL fans at home?
I will say our captain, Storm, he's the GOAT. And so is Lycon 03. Storm got a double kill at the end of the game with Thor mid, by the way. Another spicy pick that we didn't mention.
Oh, true.
And
yeah.
And he had a Storm legacy moment where he had a double kill at the end of the game whenever DepMoofin was trying to solo end.
Yeah, so exciting stuff to see coming out for SDL later on in the weeks. Thank you, Strat, for coming on with the interview, and I wish you the best of luck in the rest of your sets.
Thank you.
Well, you heard it right there from the lads of Stormcallers first. In the end, Doc, it's exactly as you said. Comfort won the day. The new beat the old.
Yeah, that's exactly why Comfort works so well, because meta doesn't matter if you can just play what you like to that level, and Stormcallers were just able to do that.
At the end of the day, you can't surpass the power of just having fun playing the gods you like when you're just that tired. But speaking of tired, man, I am pooped. Thank you all very much for watching this absolute banger of a set here in the Godlike Division Week 2 Smite Draft League. Keep an eye out for more content coming in on the YouTube and the Twitch. But until then, I've been Deelo. He's been DoctahShru. We had Nooblet up on the cams when he's not deleting me from existence. Thanks for that, buddy. Appreciate you. But until next time, guys, you all have a good one.